It's November 1st, 2019. Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson have just successfully launched the Conspiracy Palette, selling 410,000 units in just one day, earning the two of them $21.3 million. Not to mention whatever sales they made on these dumb little pig backpacks, all these dumb little pigs. Jeffree and Shane stood there with dollar signs in their eyes as they rode on the flaming hot coattails of Shane's docu-series. The Beautiful World of Jeffree Star, The Dangerous World of Jeffree Star, The Beautiful World of Shane Dawson, and all the videos in between had garnered over 351 million views. They were on top of the world, and it seemed as though nothing could stop them. After all, they had already been canceled and canceled again, only to be resurrected by the internet once more. Hell, even Shane got away with allegedly doing Freaky Bob stuff with his cat. But as they stood there, relishing in the cheers of thousands of fans, the skeletons in both their closets were reconstructing themselves, bone by bone. And Jeffree Star, in particular, would soon meet his demise, ending his career on YouTube as we know it, starting with one of the most important people in his life. Because in the beginning of January 2020, Jeffree would go radio silent for several weeks after canceling his European masterclass, which left many fans wondering what happened to him. Where could their favorite skinny little racist man be? Where fart thou? And it wasn't just fans speculating either. Even news outlets wrote in concern, theorizing that Jeffree's mother may have passed away. But on January 9th, Jeffree would briefly break his silence on Twitter, writing, "Dear God, please stop the pain," before quickly deleting it, which left everyone yet again whispering, "Where is he?" But the whole mother speculation quickly did a flip towards another theory, when people began to notice that Jeffree had removed Nate Schwandt out of his Instagram bio. As you see here, wifey to Nathan, and then here, no wifey to Nathan. The Pomeranian dog counter also went down, but that's a different story. Suddenly though, Jeffree would finally break his silence on January 11th, when he uploaded a video titled "We Broke Up," in which he would announce that Nathan and him had broken up / were getting a divorce after 5 years of being together.
There's no easy way to say this, but we did break up.
Now, if you recall back to little old episode 1, we talked about how Nate and Jeffree's relationship began 5 years prior. Nate was from a small town called Wyoming, Michigan, and he slid into Jeffree's DMs, and soon after that, Nate flew out to LA, they moved in together, and he began working in one of Jeffree's makeup warehouses. And Nate was not only in a ton of Jeffree's content, whether that meant the entire premise was built around him or it was just a cameo, he was truly a channel staple. At one point in 2017, he and Nate even made an entire makeup collection together called the Star Family Collection. As you can see, there's literally a picture of them together in this little house. It was very serious. This breakup announcement was a big deal and prompted articles written by Paper Magazine, People Magazine, and even CNN. But this breakup video begins with Jeffree listing a number of things that he's been going through even outside of the whole breakup. One of which is that Grandma Mary is not doing well at the age of 102.
Grandma Mary's not doing well at all. Also, my grandmother, okay? 102 years old. I need to see her soon before it's too late.
Which again adds to the list of times that he's changed her age. But that's besides the point. He also claims that some of his family tried to reach out to media outlets in order to profit off of their breakup.
And there's family trying to tell the media fake stories, get money out of it. There's people that I haven't spoken to in years, even before meeting Nathan, that are trying to talk about us.
Now, whether or not Jeffree's telling the truth about this is unclear as always, but sure, why the hell not? Why not add to the list of things you need to garner empathy? Overall, he's just going through it right now. He goes on to say that Nathan was the only person who he's ever been in love with.
And no man has ever had those feelings, I don't think, for me. And I've never loved someone like I've loved him.
And he's grateful for his time with Nate because he was the only one confident enough to love him publicly.
This was the only man that was ever confident enough to love me publicly.
But interestingly, Jeffree did something next that was very out of character for him. He didn't talk shit about Nate. He didn't pop off on him on Snapchat. In fact, he had nothing but nice things to say about him.
He changed me for the better, and that's why I'm so appreciative of him.
And even reassured his fans they would still be friends.
Me and Nathan will be friends forever. I will always have love for him.
Writing on Twitter, the hardest part has been waking up and he's not laying there next to me anymore. But I'm a tough bitch and 2020 is going to be my year. But all of you watching this right now, get pranked, okay? Because this good behavior, it lasted at most 3 months, okay? But before we talk about that bad behavior, let's talk about something that's actually good for you. Listen, having hair is both a blessing and a curse. I had the biggest issue for months trying to find shampoo and conditioner that wouldn't either leave my blue locks drier than a turkey on day 5 of Thanksgiving leftovers or oily like a Dawn dish soap duck. But thankfully, I decided to try the Kitsch rice water protein shampoo and conditioner bars. And I know what you're thinking, okay? Shampoo bar, conditioner bar? It might sound funky, but I actually punched my old shampoo bottles out of the shower when I lathered these bad boys up, cause my liquid shampoos always felt harsh and seemed to strip my hair of all of its precious natural oils. So these Kitsch shampoo and conditioner bars were such a game changer for me. Like, come on, this is my hair right now, and this was my hair when I woke up. Not only are they free of phthalates, parabens, silicones, and sulfates, they're also vegan, color safe, eco-friendly, and animal cruelty free. That's not all, because they're not just for cleansing. They actually help with hair growth, strengthening, improve hair texture, and balance your scalp. And girl, I need that. I've been dyeing my hair since like the day I was born. And if you're thinking, where on earth am I gonna keep this bar of soap? Kitsch has this adorable shower caddy where you can organize your bars into each category. Like, come on, how cute is that? We love a cute and functional caddy in this house. Ah, they're just so cute. 1 bar equals 100 washes. A little goes a long way, and they're super affordable. Yes, ma'am, that's right. With my discount, each bar is under $11. Or you can grab the shampoo and conditioner set for $21. And Kitsch ships in the US and over 90 countries, so no matter where you are, they got you covered. So if you want strong, healthy, gorgeous hair, just use my link in the description box or my code Nikki to get 25% off. It'll automatically apply at checkout. Thank you, Kitsch, so much, and now back to the video. Because in March, Jeffree went on Snapchat ominously, mentioning someone who he's done so much for, that has done something really nasty and dark to him.
When you do so much for someone, and then later they do something really fucking dark to you, you gotta wonder, who was that person?
And later that week, Jeffree switched the title of one of his videos with Nate called Surprising My Boyfriend with His Dream Car. And he switched it to Pretending to Surprise My Boyfriend with His Dream Car. Now, this video is exactly what it appears to be. It's about Jeffree gifting Nathan a neon yellow Aston Martin.
Oh, hi. How are ya?
It's absolutely nothing crazy in comparison to all of Jeffree's other videos, which have reoccurring themes of, see this big expensive thing? Well, I bought it. And what the hell is this poor person store?
What is this pole for? Do they tell you? For real?
However, there is one interesting scene from it, because when Jeffree tells Nate that he sold his previous car to get this new one, he actually seems pretty upset by this.
I sold our Bentley.
What? That was my car. That's my favorite one.
So just why was it that he would change this one particular video's title? The caption underneath it also changed and became, "Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Since my breakup with Nathan, I've been asked hundreds of times what happened with this car since uploading this video. The car has always been mine and in my name. I paid for it and always dreamed of owning an Aston Martin since watching James Bond 007 movies as a kid. We did this video to create content and do something fun, but sadly, this was us acting and was not a real, genuine surprise. LOL." Which I can't help but crack up at that last part. But sadly, the video was staged. What do you mean sadly? You lied to your viewers about gifting a card. Like, it's not. Yeah, it's so sad that this video was staged. Anyways though, a few days later, he addressed this odd, dare I say, change of title in Updated House Tour, Being Single and Quarantine, where he explains that the name change happened for reasons he can't disclose right now, due to legal reasons.
For my protection, I don't really want to say anything.
Jeffree also shows that he's changed it from neon green when it was Nate's to a bright Barbie pink.
This is my Aston Martin Vantage. It used to be alien green, and now it is this beautiful dark fuchsia.
Now, the theory about this is that Jeffree actually did gift Nate that Aston Martin. It's just that once they broke up and got in maybe like a little tiffy, he decided he didn't want him to have it anymore. Hence that rant on Snapchat about someone not being grateful and being evil.
It's sad what you do for people and what they do in return.
It's truly scary sometimes.
And by changing the title, that would make it impossible for him to get his car back, even by a legal standpoint. And if that is the case, first of all, you're, how many cars do you have? How much money do you have again? Why do you need to have this car?
I wanted to add another McLaren to my collection. Now listen, guys.
Secondly, you sold the man's car that he actually loved and cared about for this,
That was my car.
only to take it away in the end again.
That's my favorite one.
So for that reason, let's all have a moment of silence for Nate's now pink Aston Martin. But fans did take major issue with this because that made them think, well, is every video just staged then?
I regret saying that because I don't want anyone to ever have doubt. Like, oh my God, did Jeffree fake X, Y, and Z? And it's like, you all know my relationship was very real.
And I mean, honestly, no one on this planet truly knows what is real and what is fake with Jeffree Star except Jeffree.
And I'm sure you guys are not surprised, but this car was always my car. I paid for it, it was in my name for months, and then we filmed that video.
But we'll likely never know the answer because Nate has never said anything about this or mentioned anything about their breakup whatsoever. And while Nate has always been a pretty private person as compared to Jeffree, many people speculate that his reasoning for never saying anything, not even a lick, is because he must have signed some sort of NDA.
Everyone knows what an NDA is at this point. If you don't, you sign a very long piece of paper, meaning you can't talk about your work or the person, the celebrity that you work for in any capacity.
Assuming that Nate signed an NDA, by the way, is really not that far off, considering Jeffree has literally admitted to making people who work with him or sleep with him sign an NDA.
So I've learned now, do you really want to know? So anyone that sleeps with me, they sign an NDA.
So it just wouldn't be that surprising if Nate signed one as well. I honestly can't help but feel kind of bad for Nate, which is slightly parasocial perhaps, but walk with me. Come here. We all know that relationships as they appear on social media media are often not accurate. Like, half of them definitely gotta be toxic. And with what kind of person that Jeffree is, which Nate Schwant, if you're watching this, which of course you're not, I just know you have some sort of crazy horror stories. Lord, please take all of Nate Schwant's pain away and give it to Jeffree Star. But anyways, all these years later, we still don't have like concrete details about what happened with them, but they do occasionally throw shade at each other. Mostly Jeffree. For example, he called Nate's hometown ghetto on a TikTok live stream.
I can't breathe. All right, you guys. Well, now I'm in Wyoming, and I don't mean Wyoming, Michigan, because that's the ghetto.
Meanwhile, Nate made a post that said minusing you was a plus, and then went on an Instagram live stream singing those exact same lyrics.
Minusing you was a plus.
But soon after this, Jeffree would motorboat through a series of flopped romances. Just 6 months after the breakup, Jeffree would soft launch a new relationship through this post, with a rather grandmotherly-like caption for such a seductive post. Thankful for all the blessings God has brought into my life this year. 100 emoji. Who the f is this guy? Well, no one knew at the time, but the internet and the United States of T channels would perform the detective work needed to identify this man. People studied the tattoos on this man's arms more than the Grinch studied being a hater. Happy December, everyone. But yeah, opening up their little pirate-like telescopes, okay? They were able to match his tattoos to a professional basketball player named Andre Marhold, and he played for Duquesne University from 2009 to 2013. What is Duquesne? What is 2009? What is 2013? Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me any questions. I know nothing about basketball or Duquesne. Upon discovering his identity, there was immediate speculation that this was a PR stunt. Similarly to when Jeffree began dating Nate, rumors were swirling around about Andre being gay for pay. You know, that Jeffree was like paying him to be around, which, as with Nate, I think is kind of a gross assumption to make about someone based on their dating history. Like, bisexuals exist even if they are dating one of the top 10 Watch Mojo evil villains of all time. There was also speculation that Jeffree was using Andre to prove that he wasn't racist, which, to be 100% real with you, this isn't that far-fetched. Like, if you guys recall from episode 2, Gabriel Zamora said that he actually heard Jeffree say he's sucked too much black to be racist. Listen, chat, this is what people were saying. They said, I know I've made a career off of talking shit about anyone and everyone, and even though I've been caught multiple times being racist, don't pay attention to that because my new paid boyfriend is a person of color, Jeffree Star. I wonder how his ex-girlfriend will handle this. Eileen, he is clearly gay for pay like Nate. It's a stunt. I believe he hired Andre or knows someone who has connections with him to do this publicity stunt. It won't last too long. I give it a few months or 1 to 2 years max if I'm being generous. Bullying Jeffree Star isn't just a hobby. It's a lifestyle, a reason to breathe. It's art. The first gift you open on Christmas, a hug from a loved one. It's everything you've ever wanted, everything you've ever needed. Regardless, there was tons of memes about their relationship, which ranged from funny as like this one, Jeffree Star and his new man, to extremely racist towards Andre, which I won't even show you because it's literally like photoshopping him into like a cotton field, making him out to be a slave, stuff like that.
Slave master, slave this, slave that. And I was like, what the fuck? Do you think it went viral because you were black, or do you think it went viral because people think that Jeffree Star is a racist? I think it's both.
Really, really toxic. But anyways, Andre would later explain that their relationship began when he liked some of Jeffree's pictures on Instagram, which prompted Jeffree to slide in his DMs. And next thing he knew, he was on a flight from Georgia to LA to come visit him in his mansion.
I liked a couple of pics. Instantly, it was like a DM, and then we just started talking. And then like within 2 to 4 weeks later, I'm in LA.
Now, Andre claims that before he got on this plane, he didn't know who Jeffree Star was. Like, he didn't even bother Googling him.
I didn't even know he did makeup. Like, I really didn't know shit.
So you didn't Google him?
No.
You get on a plane.
I still haven't.
Had no idea about his scandals, success, riches, anything, nada. Which is about 10,000% unbelievable. Like, were you writing him DMs, looking through your fingers like you were watching a horror movie? I mean, the man practically has his whole life written out in his bio. Even a guy he told this to in an interview didn't believe him.
You don't Google him. You don't look him up. You don't read anything about him. You fly into his house, and you're not intrigued by who is this individual?
No.
Either way, regardless, Andre says that once that picture of him and Jeffree blew up and sleuths had confirmed his identity, Jeffree came to his room, woke him up, and had him turn his Instagram to private.
Jeffree's waking me up, like, yo, they figured out it's you. Set your phone on private. But it's like 6 in the morning, so I'm so tired, I'm just like, private. Go back to sleep.
And although Andre wasn't mad that Jeffree had outed him as being attracted to men,
I feel that I was outed, but I was never mad that I was outed. Everybody's in the kitchen, and they're just like, yo, like, do you care about what's going on? And I was just like, I don't give a fuck about what people think.
he was upset that the picture was posted without his consent.
And the only thing that made me upset is the simple fact that that picture that was posted, they said they would never post, so then it gets posted without my awareness.
And not for the reasons you might think, okay? It was because he knew it would stir up some drama. And oh boy, did it. Okay, so the reason why he got on that plane so quickly with no information was, and I quote, to get away from his baby mama.
My mind was getting the away from my baby mom.
Okay.
And if this is true, it really makes you wonder what she possibly could have done that was so bad he felt like living with Jeffree Star was a better alternative.
But what about your baby mom who you was in love with?
I'm not in love with her, never was in love with her.
Obviously, I don't know their relationship though, and he did quite literally leave her and his son to go do this. So he's not exactly looking like a great person, but anyways, this baby mama, her name is Louise, saw the picture of him and Jeffree together and immediately added fuel to the whole rumor that Andre was doing this for money. She did this by going on Instagram and publicly pleading for him to come home to her, basically saying to stop lying and that the money wasn't worth it.
Well, she said you did it for the money.
She don't know anything. So anything that she said was just not credible because I never told her shit.
Andre vehemently denies that this was for money, which I am inclined to believe, which we will get to the reason why in a moment. But Louise posting about this allowed people to weigh in even more about the situation and gave Jeffree fans the opportune to comment stuff like this on her posts. That man Ben ain't want you. I don't feel like Jeffree took him away. She been doing a lot. My personal opinion is dump him, girl. But Jeffree would then, of course, clap back on Twitter, writing, I know it's devastating news for some people, but I don't give money to anyone I'm dating or anyone who is f***ing me. Work on your own insecurities, sis. I'm not the problem. And then worry how to pay your own bills, not who's in my mouth. 100 emoji. Thank you. God bless. Upper management. Goddamn, he literally was like, put the fries in the back. But then later that night, another one of Andre's exes, named Lo, would also chime in, writing, my ex on the shade room for f***ing Jeffree Star is not how I plan to start my day. He doesn't even like black people. By the way, the shade room is basically a tea page for men that are afraid to admit they like gossip. Lo also replied to one of Jeffree's previous tweets saying, well, you should tell the people you're f***ing not to send me videos from your home. And I'm not, sis. Not sure you're the same species. So I couldn't find any evidence to prove Lo's claims that she was receiving like videos from him and Andre, so not sure if that's true, but as always, anything is possible with the villainy of Jeffree. But their relationship continued despite it all. Hooray, I guess. But was this their happily ever after? No, of course not, because Jeffree chose violence. Because a month into their relationship, Jeffree would go underneath one of Andre's posts of them on Instagram and comment the following. Hey, since you can't answer the phone right now, can you give me all the stuff back that you stole from my house? What kind of low-life fucking scum does that? Give it back. If you need a return label, just ask. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. And then he headed to Snapchat to do a tweaker rant about the situation, confronting the rumors about Andre's alleged theft.
There's some Louis Vuitton luggage missing, some backpacks missing, and there's a few sunglasses missing, so...
And Andre would later do an interview with Hollywood on Law, where he, first of all, denies that this is true, and also makes a lot of interesting claims about the situation and his time with Jeffree Star as a whole. When asked why Jeffree would lie about him stealing his Louis Vuitton luggage, Andre says, because it's a racist stereotype.
Why did he post that you stole something?
Stereotype racist. That's a stereotype.
Yet in the same interview, just a few moments later, he also says that Jeffree isn't racist. At least not towards black people.
Like, I don't think Jeffree's racist against black people. Stereotypic racist, he is, from saying I robbed him. When it comes to, as far as like black people, he's not racist to black people. He's not. I just don't see it, I don't feel it.
But, he is racist towards Asian people.
But when it comes to Asians, yeah, talk about Asians all the time.
Like what?
Like he do the Asian accent and he just talk about Asians like every day.
And if you watch this interview, Andre is just so out and open about everything with no holding back, no shame or anything, where you truly do believe everything he's saying, even if it is a little bit misguided.
I'm a top. So I was beating that shit up.
But anywho, the next info that he drops is not only crazy, but might add some weight to my theory about Nate Schwandt being potentially mistreated. So get this. He claims that the first 2 to 3 weeks he spent with Jeffree were really, really fun, and that he was able to do what he wanted and just have a good time overall. But then Jeffree began showing his true colors and was extremely controlling.
I feel like at first it was a lot of freedom and shit, but then like after like 3-4 weeks, like motherfuckers just started trying to take control over me. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't do anything.
To the point where he would not allow Andre to be on his phone, FaceTime his son,
I can't FaceTime my son,
and even go as far as spying on him, checking the cameras in his house to see if Andre was lying about being on his phone.
Or I'll pick up my phone and then there's like 20 fucking 1 cameras in the house, so then they'll just be like, oh, you're on your phone? Why are you on your phone? Like,
even if he just went to the bathroom, he says Jeffree or his people would begin looking for him and like knocking on the door.
I can't go piss without y'all. If I piss or if I take a shit, you know, and you're asking me, hey, where you at? Nigga, I'm shitting.
Like, what? Andre also says that Jeffree told him that he caught his ex cheating on him by using the security cameras to zoom in on Nate's phone while he was on Instagram.
So you're saying because his boyfriend was allegedly cheating with a bunch of transsexuals?
Exactly. With the cameras being in the house, I didn't know that motherfuckers can zoom all the way in. So that motherfucker got caught because they zoomed in all the way on the cameras and seen all the fucking DMs.
Like, first of all, why do you have so many cameras all over your house? Secondly, bro has an 8K CCTV Sony zoom in lens or something. How did you see his phone with that clarity? Wait a fucking minute. If Jeffree has all of these cameras in his house, how does he not have footage of his Louis Vuitton luggage getting stolen by Andre? And mind you, he had all those bags in his pink vault that is allegedly guarded by a bodyguard 24/7. And I don't know why, but then this interview ends in like the oddest way imaginable because Andre takes off his robe and flashes the interviewer. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if this was consensual. I don't know if he was uncomfortable. So I think I will say nothing. But another interesting little tidbit to this public fallout is that another account claiming to be Andre threatened to reveal deep, dark secrets about Jeffree if he didn't take the post down, accusing him of stealing. And one of the more cryptic messages that this account posted warned that something he found in Jeffree's bedroom could ruin him. And bizarrely, shortly after, Jeffree deleted the accusatory posts.
But on a real level, bitch, you know I'm always unbothered. And at the end of the day, you gotta talk to God about your fate, not me.
Unfortunately, I can't really find receipts for this because a lot of people that cover drama never actually post screenshots and instead just post links to tweets and Instagram posts that are so obviously going to get deleted. I hate it so much, but this is alleged. This is all alleged. And that was where Jeffree Times Andre just completely dissolved. And as far as Jeffree's other flop tropical romances, there's another man on the block, Mr. Roblox, that is, Mr. Kanye West. Allegedly. So how does Jeffree end up bumping hypothetical coochies with Kanye? Well, there's rumors carved into the ancient runes of TikTok in 2020. This all started when an insufferable Trump supporter named Ava Louise posted this TikTok claiming that Kanye and Kim were getting divorced because Kanye was sleeping with a man who is a very famous beauty guru.
This whole divorce comes as no surprise. Kanye's been hooking up with a very famous beauty guru, male beauty guru. A lot of people in the scene have known for a while.
And although she never mentions Jeffree's name, of course he is the first person everyone is gonna think about. And so, with the insistence that her source was very, very legit, the internet didn't hesitate to come forth with the memes. Which, by golly, were the memes good. We had shit like Jeffree Star running out of Kanye's mansion. But here are my two personal favorites. Kanye West and Jeffree Star's child. Nobody, Kanye West and Jeffree Star. And sorry, I lied. This is actually 3. Jeffree Star leaving Kanye's house when Kim pulled up into the driveway.
Jeffree Star after leaving Kim's house. Look at this shit, y'all. This is so stupid.
But Jeffree would immediately respond to this by creating a video titled Addressing the Kanye Situation, saying that they've never hung out with each other, and even if they did, he wouldn't be interested because Kanye is too short.
Let me just say this one time for any news outlet. I like very tall men. Me and Kanye have never hung out, and this whole thing is really funny, so.
Which, by the way, I tried looking up Kanye's height, but it is mysteriously missing from Google. So that's not a great sign. Jeffree would also go on the Impulsive podcast to double down on the rumors being fake.
Kanye. Untrue? Yeah. Completely untrue?
Very untrue.
Although he does admit to regularly sleeping with famous members of the hip-hop community. But he can't say which members because he simply doesn't kiss and tell.
When I choose to have fun, they're available. But I don't out people. That's why people fuck with me. So rappers, basketball players.
After this, though, the rumor would come to a full stop when Ava admitted that she made the whole thing up.
It's like, yeah, of course I'm cloud chasing. Like, yeah, I made up the Jeffree Kanye rumor. Like, yeah.
But here's the thing, okay? Even though she admits she just did this whole thing for clout, there is one mysterious detail I have left out. Could it be that Miss Ava Louise was accidentally right about something? Because the day she posted her original TikTok, Jeffree deleted this tweet he posted about Kanye in 2011. At Kanye West, last night was so fun. XOXO. Wait a minute. I thought you guys had never hung out, let alone had a night that was so fun. Exclamation point. But wait, there's more, because almost 3 years after all these rumors, Jeffree had this to say on the Bussin' Boys podcast.
Did you fuck Kanye?
No, he's so short. Ugh.
Did he try to fuck you?
No comment.
So I'll leave it up to you what to make of that. But unfortunately, we have to talk about something really serious now. I have to be serious, and it really, really sucks because there's some really gnarly and sad information that is critical to understanding just how evil Jeffree really is. So sorry in advance. It kind of feels like I'm grabbing you guys by your scruff and dropping you in a landmine. So first of all, trigger warning. And secondly, this is going to be a little bit out of chronological order, but it is very convoluted, so I think you'll see why I explain it the way I do. Jumping into March of 2020, Blair White, a beautiful woman, but unfortunately transgender grifter, would post a video titled Exposing Dahvie Vanity. And if you recall from episode 1, I mentioned Dahvie Vanity is the lead singer of Blood on the Dance Floor, an alternative band that was popular in the scene community in the early 2010s. Now, Dahvie and Jeffree frequently performed together on Warped Tour, which is actually where they met each other and became friends. And before I say more, trigger warning, we are going to be discussing things involving okay. So, Blair begins this video stating that the reason she's making it is because Dahvie Vanity had been trying to make a comeback. Like, he was on Instagram, he began selling merch again, releasing new music, and even was on TikTok. Which is unfortunately a huge problem because he is a well-known predator and documented sex offender. Blair goes on to mention Jeffree, albeit in a very positive way.
Jeffree Star, who a lot of you guys know and trust, called him out on Twitter in a very direct way.
She says she's always been a fan of him and that she's even been to several concerts, including the ones that he has done with Blood on the Dance Floor.
And this is after touring together, doing music together. I personally went to a couple of these tours when I was a kid, probably 15 years old.
She then praises him for having publicly called out Dahvie on Twitter for being a pervert in 2011. She goes on to read his tweet, which says, "I'm gonna speak the truth till I die. We saw at BOTDF Music Dahvie bring underage girls to his hotel rooms and do things 100% illegal. I no longer support BOTDF Music and how disgusting Dahvie is. Touching and enjoying the attention is evil as being on tour with that has made me see the truth. I regret ever doing a song with that pig. Rest in peace, cause you'll never be me. If you support that piece of shit, then unfollow me, because you're supporting a predator. Dahvie is the lowest, worthless scum I've ever met." Now, there is a long history with Jeffree and Blood on the Dance Floor. They worked closely and on various songs together, such as Sexting, which has such masterful lyrics such as "Just woke up and Taylor Swift's in my mouth. So many boys, I'm having a drought. I'm on iChat with your father, Facebooking with your brother. This ain't Bang Bus, but I love double dongs. My phone's on vibrate, so don't stop calling, cause I'll slit your unless I'm done. Blah, 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 blah. There's also the Grammy Award-winning track called Poison Apple.
Alright, we just wrapped up Poison Apple. It's coming out spring break around March 8th.
Get ready. On the dance floor, Jeffree Star, we're back.
That includes thoughtful similes such as like a moth to a flame when you should have never loved a snake. But even outside of their business ventures, such as these awful songs and the touring together, there's a ton of footage and pictures of Dahvie together, seemingly good friends, which Jeffree would proudly declare across multiple social media platforms. And the problem with this is simple. Dahvie has done a lot, and this isn't even just like a one-time dealio where you might not know what he did. You know, just read the title of this Huffington Post article alone. I'm gonna be linking it down below because it definitely does this whole story due diligence. Meanwhile, I, little old me, am going to be trying to summarize it in the best, most clear way possible without traumatizing you all. So, in June of 2007, Dahvie Vanity was 22 years old and ran a MySpace page called Dahvie the Elite Hair God. And he began messaging Diana Farrell, a 14-year-old girl, and things quickly began escalating in their chats. Like, Dahvie would regularly profess his love for Diana, something she herself says was very confusing for her because they were supposed to be just friends, and he was already kind of crossing that boundary, dipping his toes into seeing how far he could make her comfortable with inappropriate talking points. But once he had gained Diana's trust, Dahvie convinced her that he needed to come over and give her this grand scene makeover, to dye her hair and make it all sorts of colors. After all, his name was the Elite Hair God, although he actually doesn't have any hair. He's bald and he wears wigs all the time. So this was really just a ploy to take advantage of a bunch of people. And Diana was particularly vulnerable at this time. Not just because of her age, obviously, she was a child, but she had just graduated junior high, where she was bullied a lot. And she was often left by herself because her mom was single and had 2 jobs. Knowing all this, Dahvie drove to her house in Pinellas Park, Florida, all the way from Orlando, by the way, which is about a 2-hour drive, just to allegedly, you know, dye this miner's hair. But he showed up, and upon that same night of his arrival, he assaulted her. This is described in horrific detail herself in this Huffington Post article, and like, I really don't have any words for it. But later that week, Diana called into a Christian radio show that was doing an advice column, and she ended up telling them about her experience with Dahvie, which prompted staff, thank God, to call the police. And that very next morning, the police showed up to her door to question her. This was when Diana confirmed that she was indeed assaulted, but that she did not want Dahvie to get in trouble, which is very common for victims to do. For one, she obviously thought this person was her friend and was processing this terrible situation at such a young age. And so the police told her mother about this, and for some reason that I don't understand, she said she wouldn't press charges as long as Dahvie agreed to leave her daughter alone. Very dumb decision. And as a result of this, they briefly investigated Dahvie and then let him off with a warning. Y'all, I cannot stand the police. Like, this is all documented. The document about this says, victim refuses cooperation with prosecution. Case closed. But after this, you know, Diana was left to deal with this trauma. Meanwhile, Dahvie's out there scot-free, able to do whatever he wants, okay? She lost interest in the things that she was passionate about. She began getting in a lot of trouble at school, and overall just depressed, okay? And then the following year, Dahvie would create Blood on the Dance Floor, whose fan base would mostly end up being 12 to 15-year-olds. Dahvie knew that creating a band like this with such a young audience would make it easier for him to prey on young girls. And so that is exactly what he did. Just 1 year after assaulting Diana, Dahvie was actually arrested at a Blood on the Dance Floor all-ages show in Denver, Colorado, for yet again SAing a minor. Yet he was only locked up for a few days before being released. And Garrett, Dahvie's ex-backup singer, who would later be replaced by Javon Monroe, actually quit because of this incident, because he says that he witnessed 2 young girls in their touring van with Dahvie right before the cops put a stop to the show. Garrett McLaughlin says, quote, he and a friend walked out to the parking lot to hang out in Blood on the Dance Floor's tour van until the show started. To their surprise, the van had been moved to a location where, quote, it was dark and no one was around. They opened the door and found Torres inside with 2 girls who appeared to be really young teenagers, he said. And years later, Dahvie would actually post a video talking about this Colorado incident, in which he says he had sexual relations with a woman who then afterwards seemed mentally unstable. And next thing he knew, he was being arrested.
And after the show, I had relations with a woman, and after I had relations with a woman, she seemed to have underlying mental issues. Next thing you know, I'm being arrested by police.
Yeah, so you actually don't get arrested for having sex with mentally ill people. Just saying, quite frankly. He also says that his innocence was supposedly proven through a failed kit. However, this victim would later come forward with her story and stated that Dahvie told her to clean it up, which she didn't realize would then result in a negative kit. And honestly, bro, kit or not, you were in a van parked in a dark area with fans that were clearly underage. Like, it's so over. No one should believe a word you say. Your own band member quit because of this, okay? But yeah, because of that kit, he was once again let off the hook. Nothing on his record squeaky fucking clean. And this same year, he began talking to yet another minor on MySpace who was formerly known as the username Jesse Slaughter. At the time, they were just 10 years old, and they had somewhat of a following on MySpace due to their scene style and their very crude videos.
But I saw a bitch today at Walmart. My ex bitch.
Jesse now goes by Damian Leonhardt and is non-binary, so I'm gonna continue to use they them pronouns. However, if I accidentally start reading a very old article pertaining to this case, I might flub up, but I of course am always going to be respectful. And hopefully even regarding old information, I don't make this confusing at all. But as I was saying, in 2009, they began their friendship with Dahvie Vanity. By the way, he was 24 at that point, so but Damian was a huge fan, and they ended up meeting at a Blood on the Dance Floor show. And as you probably already predicted, he immediately began grooming them. He even got friendly with their parents, who would talk to him on the phone regularly. Damian's parents even knew about that Colorado incident, but chose to believe that Dahvie was falsely accused. Therefore, this would obviously prove to be a horrible mistake, because almost immediately after meeting him, Damian was expected to do sexually explicit things with him. And it's just, oh my god, like this actually sends shivers down my fucking spine. But Dahvie would then go on to actually give Damian this moniker of Jesse Slaughter, which also became the name of their YouTube channel. And it's here that they would amass more of the worst kind of audience. Like, these were toxic people that called them a spoiled brat, that called them annoying because they were of course acting like a child, like a preteen. However, that online bullying would pale in comparison to what is about to unfold. As Damian and Dahvie's relationship continued to escalate, they became excited about their relationships and all these promises that Dahvie was making to them. You know, like, I'm gonna make you famous, I'm gonna take you on tour, I'm gonna make you a star. And so she ended up telling one of her close friends at school about all of this. And that friend ended up leaking all of the information that she was bestowed onto a website called Sticky Drama. And Sticky Drama is a page that will come up once again in the worst way possible. It was and is basically a scandalous forum about all sorts of people in the alternative community, from what I understand. But this article would cause people to begin circulating these rumors about Dahvie and Damian, which of course ended up eventually getting back around to him. And when he heard this, he was pissed off, of course, because he's a disgusting piece of shit who can't take any accountability. So he began formulating an evil plan. Meanwhile, people on 4chan, the worst social media known to man, quickly began doxing Damian and sending death threats. And Dahvie's anger and stonewalling of Damian, coupled with all of this online bullying, prompted them to upload a video calling out the haters from Sticky Drama. This video would also produce one of the most infamous lines from any Jesse Slaughter video.
You know what? I'll pop a Glock in your mouth and make a brain slushy.
Then then, according to Damien, their mom tried to call Dahvie a bunch of times just to tell him that Damien was gonna make a video and tell everyone that this was not true and that they were just friends. Why this mom was so bad at protecting their child to this extent is just mind-boggling. But Damien's video saying the sticky drama thing was all just bogus, and their mom's voicemails, their phone calls, none of it would stop Dahvie from going online and publicly posting Damien's phone number on Twitter for Blood on the Dance Floor fans to attack them. A literal 11-year-old. This dude is such a pathetic loser bully. Like, I can't. But this caused one of the most infamous YouTube videos from the early 2010s to be created, simply known as You Done Goofed. Basically, this is a video that Damien posted where they're crying profusely, and meanwhile behind them, their father is screaming at the camera, saying he's gonna call the police on everyone that is harassing them online.
This is from her father, you bunch of lying, no good punks, and I know who it's coming from because I back traced it.
Which brought on the famous line, "You done goofed."
You will have to deal with the police because you done goofed.
Unfortunately, like, a lot of people who heard You Done Goofed had no idea about this dark context behind it, so they just found it funny. After this, though, Dahvie's cruelty continued because him and his backup singer, Jay, posted a video parroting this.
You guys are ruining my life. That's what! I have nothing nice to say about my dog! I report you to the...
Again, these are old-ass people. These are people in their 20s. Making fun of this hysterically crying poor child that Dahvie has traumatized. Yet Dahvie again took it a step further by writing and releasing a song called You Done Goofed, which consisted of lyrics that slut-shamed and called Damien a liar. And they uploaded this song on their birthday, no less. Quote, "My reputation won't be a target of a slut. I'll be on top of the world and you'll be cutting yourself. You are just a pawn of stupidity. You are a living mistake." And we already know that Blood on the Dance Floor sucks so much, like on every possible conceivable level. But what really drove me crazy is that this is not even their only song where Dahvie just straight up incriminates himself. Like, here's another song that literally says, "Call me a underage is not my style."
Call me a rapist, here's the truth, can you take it?
What? It's like, it's almost unbelievable how much of an open secret this was, which again brings into question how much Jeffree Star could have known about this. We'll get to that in a second, though. I'm not done here. So as a result of all of this horrible bullying, Damien tried to commit unaliving on their 12th birthday. Then they had to go to a mental asylum. They drove this child to a mental asylum. And by the time they got out of this asylum, this whole thing, the whole hate campaign, had become such a well-known thing that Good Morning America ended up doing a segment about them and their family.
Jesse Slaughter's jaw-dropping YouTube videos are so controversial.
I'll pop a Glock in your mouth and make a brain slushy.
They've made her the victim of death threats at just 11 years old.
But whoever the hell organized this was an idiot, because they made it seem like Damien was just getting bullied for making like abrasive videos where they cussed a lot.
Why so much profanity in the videos?
It's just, I had no words running through my mind. It was all done live.
Like, it's actually crazy. There is no mention of Dahvie. They completely ignore the whole catalyst of what they're talking about. And this evil directed at Adrian, directed at that victim in Colorado, directed towards Damien is really all just the tip of the iceberg with this guy. But now that you guys are understanding, you know, the gravity of the situation, situation, let's talk about Jeffree Star. What is his involvement in all of this? Well, like I mentioned, they toured together a lot. However, at one point in 2010, he wrote those tweets that Blair White brought up earlier, stating that he literally witnessed Dahvie doing sexual crimes. Again, even stating that if you follow Dahvie, you are supporting child molestation, which on the surface, as Blair White pointed out, is great. It's like, for f***'s sake, finally someone is publicly shaming this guy. But as with everything with Jeffree Star, it is so much worse than what you think it is underneath the surface. For example, there is video evidence of Dahvie Vanity and Jeffree Star performing on stage together, and literally they're singing together, and on one side of the stage, Dahvie is grinding with someone who is obviously an underage minor. Like, seeing that and doing nothing about it is already so negligent. And clearly, because he tweeted it himself, he was very well aware of all the rumors against Dahvie, and potentially, as he stated, even saw something with his own two eyes. But just 1 year after he wrote those, he would publicly forgive Dahvie, writing, "We all get over the past. Everything with BOTDF music and I is great. Stop the negativity and smile." And the following year after that, he would even write, "Love my brother, BOTDF music. His new album is out next week. Everyone better be getting it. Heart, 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 heart." And then, as if that wasn't already insane enough, he went on tour with them again.
All right, we just wrapped up Poison Apple. It's coming out spring break around March 8th.
Get ready. On the dance floor, Jeffree Star, we're back.
After he already said, allegedly, that he had seen Dahvie doing sexual things with minors. What? And again, he would go on to call Dahvie his brother. "I love Dahvie like a brother." So much love for Blood on the Dance Floor music. After 7 years of friendship, nothing can tear us apart. Hashtag sorry ho. And on this particular tweet, someone actually replies and asks him, "So why did you make false accusations against him?" And then Dahvie himself writes back to that person and he says, "Jeffree has apologized to my face for making those false accusations. It's dead and buried. We are cool again." Now, he would later claim that Dahvie convinced him and Javon Monroe that everything they were hearing from everyone else was a lie. And this is a load of barnacles, it's a load of horse manure for a plethora of reasons. Like, first of all, Dahvie and Javon Monroe both made a video to mock a child as they cried relentlessly online, and even leaked their number. So even if Jeffree believed that Damien was lying, that behavior is more than enough to never want to be associated with Blood on the Dance Floor ever again. But clearly, he did not care about that cruelty, because I found this tweet of him joining in on it. In April of 2012, while Damien's life had gone to chaos and was a literal hell, Jeffree wrote, "Ha ha ha, I can't breathe. Girl, you done goofed." Obviously referencing Damien's video. And I have no idea what the tweet that he was replying to said, but I honestly don't need to know. This is enough proof that he too was just dogpiling on this kid. And here's the real kicker, okay? Not only does it appear that he knew about this whole thing, Damien themselves says that Jeffree literally saw Dahvie kissing them. Yet he did nothing about it. Even if you choose not to believe what Damien is saying, that doesn't change the fact that Jeffree's complicit, i.e. the clip of that person getting grinded on. And what I and a lot of people are confused about is why? Why ever say anything about Dahvie's crimes if you were just gonna go back and work with him anyways? Now, interestingly and disturbingly, the disgusting monster himself, Dahvie, might actually have the the answer to this question. In a video titled "The Truth About Jesus Torres," he of course is spouting a bunch of lies and sharts in attempts to discredit his victims. However, something he says about Jeffree here really stood out to me.
Now, the night before Jeffree posted that tweet, I went on stage and I said some stupid shit about Jeffree. He was really upset about that. Of course, everyone knows when you piss off Jeffree Star or, you know, shit with Jeffree, he gets pretty vile. He gets pretty angry and he'll tweet some fucked up shit and he'll try to get his fan base rallied up and to go and attack people.
In true Jeffree Star fashion, did he retaliate online over Dahvie talking shit? It really makes me wonder if this could be the one and only time Dahvie is telling the truth about something. Because does this not perfectly align with Jeffree's reoccurring behavior? Especially when it comes to James Charles, you know, the instigating tweets about him, only to flip-flop back and support him again. Okay, so now that you know and understand all that, we can get back into some sort of chronological order. I know all of that is extremely heavy and it's hard to get back to the next scandal, but I promise everything is important, even if it doesn't seem like it at first. Okay, so we are at the tipping point of what is known as Karmageddon, which is exactly what it sounds like, really. It's kind of like a reverse Dramageddon. So on June 11th, Tab David, who was a former friend of Jeffree for 13 years, uploaded a video titled "I Was Jeffree Star's Friend, The Truth." And in it, he lays out a series of bombshells against Jeffree that would yet again expose him for being an awful and, drumroll please, anti-Semitic person. What? This guy? This guy right here? Huh? But basically, Tab, Jeffree's hairstylist, aka Hair by Jay, Trisha Paytas, and Jeffree himself had all went on a trip to Las Vegas 3 months prior. And this was a mega extravagant vacation. Like, Jeffree flew all of them there on his private jet. They were all sharing fancy champagne and carbon emissions, okay? It was all fun and dandy at first. But things quickly got hairier than a little kiwi. Because, you see, the main reason why they even went to Las Vegas in the first place was to see Gwen Stefani in concert. However, Gwen ended up canceling last minute due to being sick. And this obviously left them all disappointed. But according to Tab, Jeffree took this way too far.
And Jeffree told me, you know, like, wow, I can't believe she canceled the show, and continued to say word towards Jewish people. It starts with a K.
Which, this is just so repetitive at this point. Like, this dude keeps diversifying his anti-Semitic portfolio. But wait, hey, there's more discrimination here. Because the next thing that Tab brings up is Jeffree's bodyguard. What could be wrong with Jeffree's bodyguard, you ask? Well, apparently, this man was an ex-cop who was fired for saying the N-word. On the job, no less. And Jeffree, knowing that, flew him from Miami, Florida to California so that he could be his personal bodyguard.
He had got fired in Miami for saying the N-word on the job. Jeffree flew him from Miami to be his personal bodyguard, knowing that.
Like, what? You hired this man simply because he says the N-word? Is that like on your qualifications? Is that on your ZipRecruiter? How racist do you need to be to just have to say the N-word at all times? And we're all noticing that recurring theme of Jeffree being racist behind closed doors, right? Like, if this many people are saying this about you, maybe you're the problem. Tab also says that Rich Lux, the triangle guy, guy came up to their hotel room at some point and gifted Jeffree an Hermes bag, which Jeffree received graciously, at least until Rich left the room, that is.
The second he left the room, Jeffree tells me and everyone else in the room, like, yeah, he got me the cheapest thing in the store. Yeah, I already have that. He has a tendency to just talk bad about everybody.
Mind you, the cheapest bags from there are still well over $1,000. This is just annoying. Like, Jeffree claims to be so appreciative of his humble origins.
These rich just eat and they just don't care. So I come from literally nothing. You know what I mean? Dirt, white trash.
Yet he's classist. Like, his behavior reminds me of Harry Potter's cousin.
How many are there?
36. Counted them myself.
36, but last year I had 37.
You can't act like Dudley in your late 20s, bro. But anyways, Tab goes on to then claim that Jeffree and Hair by Jay bullied someone on this trip in a barbaric way.
Just the most disgusting, horrible things for him, his crew who does hair and makeup, who works in industry, to say.
Like, just ripping into them, you know, body shaming them, acne shaming them, making fun of their hair, making fun of their past drug use.
They had continued to make fun of this person all day, talk about how bad their skin was, body shame them, talk about their weight, talk about their past drug abuse.
And this treatment ultimately made this person leave the trip early. And this caused Tab to send them a text and tell them about these awful things that they heard Jeff and Jay saying behind their back. And in response, the person said this: "Wow. Hey, thank you for this. I believe you 100%. He said a lot of things to my face that made me feel awful that trip, hence why I left early. It's hard because I truly loved him and I know if I confront him, I will get backlash. You will, and ultimately, I'll be the one canceled. It was the first time I saw his true colors. I'm in the same boat though. I just hate drama, and I'm just glad you let me know. I've kept my distance since the trip, and this is just more confirmation. It sucks to hear it, but I'm glad you told me. You were so cool to me, and I'll always appreciate that." And based off of that, the internet would quickly and correctly assume Tab was talking about Trisha Paytas. Now, there is quite a bit of Jeffree X Trisha lore to explain, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get it out of the way, unravel the whole beef, and then get back to the fate of Tab David. So Trisha had actually posted a now deleted Vegas vlog about this trip, and in it you can pinpoint some ominous things. We see Jeffree encouraging her to eat by feeding her chocolate strawberries, which is just very cruel behavior coming from someone who is just gonna body shame you and call you fat behind your back, and apparently to her face too. We also see Trisha in her hotel room by herself a lot, and although she speaks very highly of Jeffree, something just didn't seem right about the situation.
I know I look so insane right now, and I have the biggest zit in my middle forehead. It's not even a big zit. It's the fact that it's in the middle of my forehead is crazy. But anyways, I don't know if you could fully understand how amazing it was because I didn't vlog all that much. I don't have a lot of friends, so like the ones I do have are like quality. I truly love him. And
it turns out after the Vegas trip, Trisha had already mentioned this briefly on her podcast without saying any names, saying how much she was bullied, saying how much it affected her mental health.
And it makes me so angry, and it gave me crippling anxiety where I couldn't breathe. And
although she would very quickly delete that episode. And then after this Tab David video came out, she went on the record and publicly defended Jeffree multiple times, acting as if nothing had happened. One of these times was in a tweet. She said, "Again, I can only say what I experience, hear, and see. Everyone on that trip was nothing but kind and wonderful to me. Over the top so. I have a vlog where I'm in tears over what a great time I had. I don't know what else to say. And many people began speculating that she was going so hard in defending him because she was scared of retaliation, which is literally what she said in that text response to Tab in the first place. So it's not hard to believe at all. However, despite her remaining loyal and covering for him, Jeffree promptly unfollowed her on Instagram and Twitter, which is something that she would bring up on episode 5 of Frenemies, which is an iconic episode, by the way. It ends in a fight with Uncle Fester.
Jeffree Star unfollowed me. I don't know why, but that's...
He unfollowed you?
Well, I think we had like a little issue earlier this summer where I didn't like defend him as hard as I defended Shane, so I feel like maybe there was an issue there. I don't know. Jeffree, I'm sorry. We had a little issue in Vegas.
But funnily enough, she says when she found out that he unfollowed her, she panicked and also unfollowed him and then felt guilty about it for some reason.
Because I saw the drama was like, Jeffree Star unfollows Trisha, and I'm like, oh my god, should I unfollow him too? And I did, but now I feel bad.
But anyways, Trisha ended up making a vlog shortly after this at Arby's, where she briefly mentions her Vegas trip again. And I can't find this video for the freaking life of me. A ton of T pages from the time mention it, but don't link it or have any footage from it. So I guess just take my word of the Arby's lore. But in this video, she explains how she feels bad for having publicly commented on their beef, because in her words, Shane was in her ear telling her how sad and alone Jeffree was. So just give him some grace. I know he like told you to yourself, but just give him some grace. So basically, she was completely gaslighted into rationalizing his bullying, and the only truly negative thing that she has to say, it really sucked that his wig guy ripped me off. Wig guy. That was it. She didn't say his name and went into no further detail about that. But 1 week later, this hair guy in question, Hair by Jay, would catch wind of it and proceeded to go on a live stream reacting to it, losing his shit, crashing out, unleashing his demons. He starts off straight up denying claims that he was ever mean to her on the Vegas trip, saying he's always been nice to her. She's lying, blah blah blah, she's lying.
How did I charge you more, you dumb bitch, if I was actually the one that liked you?
And then he quickly spirals into calling her extremely vulgar and cruel names, like making fun of her weight.
Maybe she should go on a diet and get lipo on her motherfucking brain, because maybe all that fat is up her brain from thinking.
Calling her a walrus.
I was actually nice to the stupid looking.
Making fun of her skin, like saying she has warts, and like calling her poor. And he expected that to somehow disprove that he and Jeffree had ever called her those names. And it's just like, you clearly already had those insults in your roster. Like, that is so specific. A walrus. And to make matters even crazier, he then threatens her with physical violence, saying he's gonna beat her up, and by the time he's done with her, she's gonna look anorexic, whatever that means.
Bitch, I would destroy you, bitch. By the time I'm done with you, you're gonna look anorexic.
And he's saying all of this while giving the camera a 1,000-yard stare. And it's almost beautiful how effortlessly he corroborated Tab and Trisha's stories, simply by being a biatch.
I'm actually a nice person.
And listen, we all know that Trisha's problematic as hell, and we'll get into that more later, but it is simply sad to see someone treated like this regardless. Now, shortly after this live stream, Trisha posted a video titled Why I'm Scared of Jeffree and Hair by Jay. And in this, Trisha's reacting to Jay's live stream, she's crying, and she finally comes clean about everything that happened to Vegas, no holding back, and explains that she didn't say anything when it all went down because she was afraid Jeffree's stans would come after her. Valid as hell. But not only that, she also reveals that Jay allegedly doxed her house, her business name, and stood outside her house on 2 separate occasions taking pictures of her car. And she came with receipts. Like, she literally has text messages with her security guard about this.
This video was very threatening, so I told my security guard outside. That was his response. And then he said he thought he was one of them and that he was in a black Dodge sport car outside my house. I'm honestly like just so scared.
He's so fucking crazy. And in response to this video that literally made him look like such an asshole, a stalker, a literal criminal, he gets on another live stream wearing a Chucky shirt, doing Chucky behavior, okay, reacting to her video, starting to backpedal on everything he just said, probably because he's getting exposed and because Jeffree is scolding him behind the scenes.
There's no need to apologize for something that I knew I was saying, okay? When someone is upset, you don't say
you need to apologize.
Things to make that person feel bad.
But even as he's backpedaling, he's simultaneously trying to justify everything he said. Meanwhile, the entire comment section is spamming him with clown emojis. This dude is dumb as rocks. Go make wigs in Clown City and Clown Jail. After this live stream though, Jeffree's fans would fly out in hordes to Twitter to finally call him out. But after this live stream, Jeffree's fans would fly out in hordes to finally call Jeffree out on Twitter. One of which said, if you support what was said to Trisha Paytas in that video, you are trash. I don't care what kind of money you have. That is mean girl behavior. You need to apologize and fire Hair by Jay. To which Jeffree replied, I have personally apologized to Trisha Paytas several times last year about Vegas, and she never responded, which is her right. I respected it, and what happened is between us. Don't drag me into new drama. Not interested. What someone else says does not represent me. But Jeffree didn't know he was actually fucked, because Trisha then replied like this: if you didn't want to be involved in the drama, why is he speaking your name in the video on your behalf, confirming all the horrid shit you guys said about me? I have been cool, but he is speaking on your behalf multiple times in all of his feeds. And then finally, after a lot more pressure from fans, he specifically condoned what Jay said. I've already said my piece to her, and if she wants to call or text me back, she will. What Jay said on live was effing disgusting and does not reflect how I've ever felt. I shouldn't have to say that, but I'm screaming it. But his fans were not gonna let up, and one of them wrote this tweet: why would you want that little shit working for you? You're a professional business owner. Don't have people like that in your life. What he said was so incredibly mean and wrong. He's a little bully, and you are better than that. To which Jeffree then claimed, I've been in Wyoming and had no idea what has been going on. Just catching up now, and I'm horrified by what he said. Let's not pretend I had any part in that. The fuck of it all, though, is that he's lying, because Jay live streamed his video on the 5th, and in the background of Jeffree's Kanye video, which was published on the 7th, Jay can be seen in Jeffree's house. Oh, and another thing, okay? Jay and Jeffree both did this. So for him to say, oh, I can't believe he said those things is fork found in kitchen, eyeshadow brush found in makeup bag. But alas, since Jay blew himself up and his 2 kids,
my brother Josh blew himself up and his 2 kids,
and made himself look like an asshole, Jeffree was able to use him as a human shield, Dramageddon 1 style. And so of course, he went out of his way to let everyone know that he was unfollowing him on Instagram by posting this on Twitter. Good morning to everyone except that guy who used to do my hair. I always hold the people around me accountable. I know that's hard for some people to believe, but I'm a grown-ass man, and 2021 will only be full of good energy. 100 emoji. You could post as many 100 emojis as you'd like. That doesn't change the fact that just a few weeks later, February 14th, 2020, he literally followed Jay back on Instagram. And then Jay posted a thumbnail of Jeffree's new video captioned, wig colored and installed by me. And after that, their relationship would only continue. He even posted posted a photo with him on Maine later that same year.
He's like, good morning to everyone but that guy, that hair guy that said rude things to
And then
Trisha.
unfollowed him and
Literally 5 days later, blocked Jill, followed him back.
tagged him.
Well, hold on. Remember how Jeffree made that tweet about saying sorry to Trisha Paytas? Like an actual, in his own words, I apologized for this, right? Well, more recently, okay, he did a TikTok live stream where he tries to completely rewrite history.
Chris Star's so awful to me on his Vegas trip a year ago.
Saying Trisha made up these horrible lies about him to ruin his career.
It was so crazy, y'all. This loaded a vlog about our trip. It was so beautiful and amazing. 4 months later, deletes it, makes up all the lies.
Like, does this man just think no one remembers his public statements?
It was so horrible for my mental health. She's awful. She's an evil person.
Liar! I mean, shit. He even still follows Jay on Instagram and works with him to this very day in 2024. But okay, so let's get back to Tab David. What was the fate of this man? Because need I mention, he was visibly scared throughout this entire video. So it's probably not that much of a surprise that right after this upload, he deleted it. However, Sanders Kennedy, another T channel at the time, would later re-upload it with Tab's permission. Tab was simply scared to hard launch himself onto Jeffree's shit list. And you know what? He was kind of right to be scared, because he would soon be receiving this voice message from Jeffree.
Girl, how much did you smoke today? I told you to grow out your facial hair, and I checked on you after your breakup. It's actually the last thing me and you spoke about. That is the most craziest, manipulative, most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I know you're upset. Your boyfriend left you. He stopped loving you. Your roommate moved out. You attacked Fenty. They didn't respond, and now people are coming for you for supporting me. So you trying to flip the script, make up a bunch of lies, and make me the devil is so boring. Girl.
Jeffree Star is like the most critical of insults, in the sense that he's always prepared to be mean in like a new and creative way. And by the way, January 2020 was when Jeffree announced that he had broken up with Nate. So him bringing up Tab getting dumped is just like an extra low blow on top of it, let alone the goatee. Oh my god, leave him alone.
By the way, cute goatee. Come back to earth.
But later this same day, Kameron Lester, who is a beauty YouTuber and model that had worked with Jeffree for several photo shoots, posted a 20-minute IGTV video. By the way, throw back, I forgot about IGTV, and also Instagram Shop. No shade, by the way, he probably posted there because he was nervous about backlash, which makes sense considering this video was titled Fear and Manipulation in the Beauty Community. And in this video, which is no longer up, he says that he no longer supports Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson because there were several uncomfortable and aggressive interactions that he had with both of them. So firstly, Kameron says that at one point, Jeffree came up to him and he randomly asked him if he likes James Charles, which he says threw him off because it came out of absolute nowhere. And it wasn't just that, it was the way he said it that made Kameron feel like he had to like choose a side.
Remember, there was this instance where he's like asking me if I like James or not. And if you guys know me, James helped me with my career when I first got into the beauty space and tell my HIV story. Like, he's always been very supportive of me.
But Kameron was honest and told him that James had really helped him come into the beauty community and that he had always been supportive of him. And in response to that, Jeffree said, well, you don't owe him forever.
And he was like, well, you don't fucking owe him forever.
Like, jeez. And this interaction would soon turn even more ominous when Rich Lux,
oh hi Rich Lux, how are ya?
Triangle guy, told him that Jeffree said, I think Cam is pro James, and that Jeffree said that he thought Cam was talking to James at the Louis Vuitton store.
Rich Lux told me that Jeffree thought I was talking to James at the Louis Vuitton store. And from that, when I was in that car, I knew that he automatically just didn't trust me off the jump.
Okay, so weird, you know? know? Why is he keeping tabs on his interactions with James? Why does that matter? Also, I thought they were friends. But you know what? It gets even more ominous because Kameron says he saw Shane Dawson cursing out James Charles. During the conversation that Kameron overheard, Shane called James fake and mentioned how he needed to be humbled.
Shane was going off and cursing out James and on FaceTime with Jeffree.
And this is actually huge, okay? Big if true, because he's fake and he needs to be humbled isn't exactly something you would say if you were trying to free the world of a child. Like, imagine if Chris Hansen were to pull up on a predator and the decoy and was like, you're surrounded and the cops say you're fake and that you need to be humbled. Wouldn't it be funny if Jeffree Star and Chris Hansen were to sit down for an interview or something? Oh wait, that's a thing that already happened? But let's stay on track, okay? Kameron also says that Jeffree is, surprise, again, racist.
I was kind of like the token black kid.
Like, bro, how many people need to say this about you before people believe it? So at another point in their work relationship, Kameron had asked Jeffree about Jackie Aina because he was a huge fan of both of them, and it bothered him that they had this crazy blow up. And Jeffree replied with this violence. So Cam said he kind of shut it down and said, she doesn't deserve a spot on my platform. To which Cam, being way too nice, says it's understandable and it is his platform and he has all the rights to do whatever he wants with his platform. I just left it at that. But I was definitely hurt as a black boy and as a black influencer who loves Jackie that he was not trying to grow or amend that disconnect or wrongdoing he has done. Jesus Christ, you could ask this guy, what time is it? And he'd be like, you don't deserve to know the fucking time. But another instance of like racism / like microaggressions was that he felt very tokenized by Jeffree. For example, Cam was actually only introduced on Jeffree's main channel to showcase a new Morphe foundation when it came out. And this particular foundation had received a lot of backlash due to a lack in shade range. So it was him and another black influencer there trying it on to hypothetically kind of be like, see, we do have a lot of shades, guys. So this could work for a lot of people, guys. And if you think that's a stretch, like, oh, well, this isn't Jeffree's foundation that's lacking the shades that he's like trying to defend. No, okay. Jeffree, allegedly, I have to say alleged and I hate it, okay, had invested a lot of money into Morphe, okay? Like, allegedly, he is the co-owner, or was the, and he even says it on camera this one time, oh, I've invested a lot of money into Morphe, so.
Yeah, so it's called Morphe Brushes. So it's like a company that I invested in, and I have my own brand in the store. So we have 75 stores opening this year by Christmas.
There's no point blank, he has a reason to try to defend this shadeless foundation. But Cam goes on to say, once he began questioning things too much, he was replaced in Jeffree's campaign with his ex-best friend, which to him felt like a way to get back at him or punish him for not just agreeing with whatever the hell Jeffree and Shane had to say. And he's been afraid to say literally any of this because Jeffree is so powerful and could potentially get him blacklisted from the beauty community. And again, you might totally think, oh, that ex-best friend thing is kind of a reach. I don't think so. I think Jeffree is that petty. But anyways, after Cam opened up about all this, drama channels hopped on this information like a fly on poop. And the next day, Ashley Kyle, who ran a popular tea channel, made a statement confessing that Jeffree Star was feeding her exclusive information by sister. And it wasn't just her. She says that Dustin Daly, another tea channel, was getting fed that same information as well. Okay, and this gets really, really interesting because the next day, yet another channel called The Viewer's Choice corroborated Ashley's story, saying that him, Dustin Daly, and Ashley were all playing Dead by Daylight one night. By the way, that's my favorite multiplayer. I love that game. But they were playing before By Sister, BBS, and Ashley said, and I quote, "Something big is gonna happen. I don't know what exactly, but we need to prepare." Shane Dawson saying James Charles needs to be humbled? Jeffree punishing Cam because he says he likes James? And now we find out he was feeding T channels information about bi-sister before it bi-sistered? What does this all add up to? And I really shouldn't have to say this, but I saw like one comment bring it up in the last video. I do not like James Charles. I do not support James Charles. I am not defending James Charles. If you want to learn more about James Charles, watch the James Charles video, okay? I am simply listing out Jeffree's involvement and what he has done in the whole storyline. Please don't come for me. But this brings me to the Jeffree Star times Chris Hansen collab that I mentioned earlier. On April 22nd, Jeffree and Chris would make contact, with Jeffree tweeting out, "At Chris Hansen, so good talking with you today. We'll speak more later this week." And just 4 days later, he would be interviewed by Chris about his involvement with Dahvie Vanity. Now, to give some background, 1 month prior to this, a detailed Business Insider article was published about Dahvie's crimes, as well as Damian Leonhardt's story, which led to a domino effect of T Mimi doing a series on her YouTube channel about not only Dahvie, but specifically Jeffree's involvement and lies, all of which caused some online discourse and backlash towards Jeffree. So in short, he definitely did this interview to try and save his own ass and his reputation regarding this situation, and most definitely not because he actually cares about Dahvie's victims, because I do not think he does at all. Let me give you a play-by-play, okay? It's April 26th. It's the day of this interview. Chris Hansen's tweet goes up about it and people immediately click. They want to see how Jeffree could possibly defend himself. They start watching and it is probably one of the craziest crossovers of all time. I truly had to take a moment to absorb what I was seeing here, because this was not even a normal interview. This was a live stream, and literally the entire time the chat is all yelling, "Jeffree, what about the tweets? Ask him about the tweets." And just to jog your memory, I am of course referencing the tweets where Jeffree accused Dahvie Vanity of being a predator and then still worked with him again. And just mentally prepare yourself, y'all, because this whole stream is littered with lies. In fact, one of Jeffree's first claims in the video is that he's never had a sip of alcohol and he was never a party animal, so he was never really around blood on the dance floor.
People may know this or may not know this about me. I don't drink. I am not a partier. So they were very into partying, drinking, alcohol, and my crew was not into that. We didn't hang out a lot.
He's also constantly trying to distance himself from the situation, saying shit like this: "Blood on the Dance Floor" and Jeffree Star, the musician, did a lot of tours separately. Jeffree Star and Jeffree Star, the musician, are both still you, no? You are the same person? Anyways though, Chris really gets the convo going when he asks Jeffree the lore of how he felt about Dahvie in the past and in the present. And Jeffree says,
It's like this kid almost like wouldn't go away as like a fan, and then he became kind of bigger on MySpace. It's almost like he went from being a fan to like a musician.
He truly paints Dahvie to be some sort of obsessed, annoying fan that he simply couldn't get rid of. He also is sure to say, "Me and Dahvie were never best friends."
Dahvie was never my brother. We were never best friends.
You sure about that? You sure about that's not why?
Which, all of this, given the context that came before us, as Kamala once said,
"You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you,"
makes no sense. If this person was a brother to you, as you stated yourself, wouldn't this come as a surprise that he was a monster? Chris then asks him to specifically address the video that I mentioned earlier, you know, of Dahvie with a on stage while Jeffree was on the stage with him, and this girl in question that Dahvie was grinding with later was identified to be 13 years old. So yeah, but Jeffree's defense of himself is that at the time shows were very vulgar and punk rock, and it was standard to bring anyone up on the stage and dance regardless of their age, and he shouldn't be held responsible for something Dahvie did on stage. To that I have to say, I have seen the clip in question fashion, unfortunately, and the girl definitely 100% without a shadow of a doubt looked 13. I understand sometimes it might be hard to clock somebody's age, but I'm telling you there's no fucking way. So it is very weird to have been complicit in that and not feel any sort of guilt about it. Like, Jeffree was 25 at the time, okay? His brain had finished cooking. But this interview actually ended up surprising me because, shockingly, at one point, Jeffree actually does bring up and elaborate on those tweets. You know, those. And his explanation for this was that although it was believable that Dahvie was a sex offender because he had witnessed him doing, air quotes, inappropriate behavior, he had never seen a crime, nor were there any formal charges against him.
Yeah, I've witnessed him be very appropriate with people that were underage. Have I witnessed an actual crime? No.
So therefore, Jeffree gets to do his classic argument. Was it weird? Yes. Did I tweet some things? Yes. But did I witness a crime? No, absolutely not. Do I think Jeffree Star is lying? Yes. Do I think that we should believe him? No. Absolutely not. The fact that it was believable that somebody who you were publicly supporting was a pedophile, like, that should literally be enough. If you think, hey, this guy might be a pedophile, that should be more than enough for you to stop talking to them. Like, are you kidding me? I don't understand this mentality. And he doesn't elaborate further on what he means by inappropriate behavior towards minors. As if that's not a fucking huge deal. Like, oh, I didn't see a crime. He was only inappropriate towards minors. Like, he only, like, said crazy things to them. Huh? And to make matters worse, Jeffree says he was aware of the Denver, Colorado concert incident.
Were you around during the Colorado incident when he was questioned by authorities?
No, but I heard about it because obviously being in the same scene, it was like, whoa.
But that Dahvie was a mass manipulator.
He, being the master manipulator that he was, he really tricked us all into thinking, hey, I'm actually not that person.
That convinced everyone that the victim had lied.
And he really buried it as like, oh, this girl didn't get what she wanted from me, or I don't know what was the actual context, but he lied and really made us all think that this girl was lying.
Jeffree then attempts to explain why it makes sense that he decided to work with them again. So, according to him, directly after tweeting that Dahvie was a pet, Dahvie called him to beg him not to believe what everyone was saying.
He had reached out to me again, begging me to not believe what everyone had said.
And so Jeffree took it into his own hands to investigate whether or not he should still perform with them.
So I did my own research.
Which to him meant asking like 3 likely very biased people if they'd seen Dahvie anyone. But Jeffree first called Javon Monroe.
And I reached out to Jay. Never seen anything, Jeffree. Dahvie's great.
Hey, guy who gets paid by Dahvie, have you seen him anyone? He took his word for it. Like, okay, Jay, I believe you, and you're smart and you're talented, and good job. Jeffree then reached out to a woman named Brandy.
So I reached out to Brandy. Now, Brandy Wynn was a band member of Blood on the Dance Floor for years and years.
Who was the violinist for Blood on the Dance Floor. By the way, I don't know what songs they could possibly have that require a violin. This is what their music sounds like. But he asked her if she had ever seen anything illegal, because if so, then he wasn't going to do the tour with them.
So I reached out to Brandy. Now, Brandy Wynn was a band member of Blood on the Dance Floor for years and years. I said, Brandy, have you ever seen anything illegal?
And in response, Brandy said she had seen some inappropriate things, but nothing illegal.
And she, as a mother, said, Jeffree, I've seen inappropriate things, but nothing illegal. You know, Dahvie is offensive and crass and da-da-da-da-da. I took her word for it.
Again, shouldn't that be enough for y'all? Am I smoking crystallized blue Breaking Bad meth right now? Or does this not make sense? But regardless of this being entirely irrational, Jeffree continues.
She's older, she's 40 years old, and I took her word and I booked them on that last tour.
And then he does yet another classic Jeffree move because he begins deflecting any wrongdoings onto Javon Monroe.
So Jay, if you're watching this now, you need to do the right thing because you were there. You lived with this man for like a third of your life.
But Chris Hansen then changes the subject and asks Jeffree about yet another controversial video of Jeffree. And this is a video that had recently resurfaced from his MySpace era, in which he's kicking a drunk guy out of his bathroom. And I won't play you the clip because it just feels really weird and gross to show it here. But this poor guy is in Jeffree's apartment, clearly struggling on the floor and vomiting profusely into the toilet. Like, he can't stand up and his pants are down. And it is quite clear that he is not in the state of mind to pull them up. But despite this guy being in like the most vulnerable position, Jeffree and his friend decide to bully him as if that's gonna help the situation. And what's even more gross is that Jeffree says, "Did you enjoy me?" And then he and his friend practically shove the guy down the stairs, with the last thing Jeffree says being, "I'll kill you." And dude, even if all of this is jokes to them, it is so cruel and wildly inappropriate. If this person on the floor was a girl, people would surely have brought this up and said there was a huge chance of sexual assault here or something, especially with the disgusting comment that Jeffree made. Like, the fact that this clip only came up recently is very shocking. And Chris actually picked up on how gross this really is and warns him that people might think Jeff is a predator himself. But Jeffree claims that they called a cab for this guy and they pushed him in and sent him on his way home, and that clip of them was in the full-length version of that video, and that version used to be on his YouTube channel and people had seen it, so you know it's real because people out there have seen it. He tries to state this as a fact, like, yeah, people have seen this, they know that this is true. However, in every single clip that I find of this online, there is no cab getting hailed, it's just abuse. So this is probably just another lie. It even sort of reminds me of that one time in J-Star episode 1 when he says that JS inside of a star has always been a logo that's been on his merch. Just look it up. Yet when you look it up, you find nothing. Like, Jeffree truly just banks on people not Googling anything about him. But Jeffree goes on to say that nothing will happen between them and that the two of them talked the next day on MySpace and the guy just said that he felt embarrassed and that was that. Honestly, Chris is pretty dismissive of this situation, which blows chunks because it totally could have been a crime. And also, Chris never brings up Jeffree's own allegations. We'll get to that in a second. It is a lot of information and it is all very bad. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. But these aren't the only thing Chris flops at. He also fails to mention Damien, aka Jesse Slaughter, who literally said Jeffree witnessed things. They said he saw Dahvie kiss them.
Actually had to do with Jeffree Star, where you talked about how both he and Jay knew the relationship between you and Dahvie and actually witnessed him kissing.
They witnessed many girls kissing him.
Yeah, I've witnessed him be very appropriate with people that were underage.
So like, Chris, you are not seating the way you used to seat. What happened?
Have I witnessed an actual crime? No.
Honestly, I truly suspect Chris and Jeffree might have come to some sort of agreement beforehand because the chat is quite literally begging them to talk about Damien. Ultimately, Jeffree says that people are using him as a scapegoat when they should be focusing on Dahvie, to which I say, criticizing your behavior and holding Dahvie accountable are not mutually exclusive. And right before this interview ends, Jeffree says something absolutely rich. Okay, he says if it were up to him, he would punish Dahvie with the firing squad.
I don't care what anyone says about me. Dahvie Vanity is disgusting. If I was the judge and I could give Dahvie a punishment, it would be the firing squad.
Bro, I say to this with the most offense intended. If that's your opinion, maybe consider the severity of the punishment you should have as well. Because you're on thin ice, man. Very, very thin. You are a criminal, in my opinion. Overall, this interview was mishandled. Chris Hansen, for shame. That's why you're on Cameo now, bro. Shaking my head. Just 2 days later, Jeffree would go on Keemstar's podcast called Mom's Basement, and in it, both the topic of blood on the dance floor and James Charles are brought up. And this interview becomes way more important than I originally expected. So in the beginning, Jeffree starts kind of using the same talking points as he did on Chris Hansen, just saying that Dahvie was a Jeffree Star wannabe. But for some reason, Jeffree acts really annoyed that people are bringing up his old tweets where he called Dahvie out. He just goes, "Oh, we're not doing this."
Oh, we're not doing this.
We're not doing what? You called someone a pedophile and then changed your mind. We are doing this. Jeffree also again downplays the experience of the 13-year-old that Dahvie molested on stage, saying, is grabbing someone and bringing them on stage not like every rock show you've ever been to?
Jeffree and Dahvie grabbed people from the crowd and danced with them on stage. Is that not every rock show you've ever been to as a kid?
Like, so conveniently saying people rather than the actual thing we're talking about, which is a child. He then tries to Jeff-splain that while he was on Chris Hansen, he had said, and as you probably remember, he had seen some inappropriate things, but nothing illegal. But people are taking his words and twisting them around, because by inappropriate things, he only meant that Dahvie brought people up on stage and danced with them. But like, that conveniently leaves out the part where these people in question were actually children.
When you're dancing on stage, yeah, you grind on people, you slap their ass.
Isn't it interesting how much he talks like a politician? But then we do end up treading new territory, because shockingly, and this really surprised me, Jeffree actually brings up Damien here and their whole claim that Jeffree had seen Dahvie kiss them, to which he gives the greatest explanation of all time.
One person has said that they saw me in an environment where they were alone with him and kissing, and I'm like, you guys, absolutely not.
You guys, absolutely not.
This person, their mother dropped them off at 11 years old to hang out with rock stars and party and drink.
Man.
I wasn't around that environment. I don't party. I kept to myself.
Really? Jeffree keeps on lying, and that is really cool and great for society. Let's keep this guy around, guys. This makes me want to start slamming my head into the cash register like Squidward that one time. Because I cannot believe the words that I am hearing. Legitimately, we are all so beyond gaslighted by this man. Please, 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 for the love of God, stop supporting him. I'm looking at you, Tannenbrook. I'm looking at you. What really makes this interview so bizarre and truly interesting to me is that when the really hard questions come up, for example, why Jeffree made those accusatory tweets in the first place, Keemstar's friend, nicknamed Clown, actually genuinely does a better job of interrogating Jeffree than Chris Hansen.
I mean, that's such a misleading tweet, isn't it? That's so misleading.
He even asked Jeffree very skeptically if he feels it's a coincidence that he's come into contact with so many creeps over the years.
Jeffree, bit of a harder question. Do you find it interesting, like in terms of coincidence, that you've been in contact with so many of these depraved criminals over the years, like the one you just mentioned?
And specifically goes in and asks him a question about this other guy, Ian Watkins, who Jeffree was mutual/friends with on Twitter.
And there's another one called Ian Watkins. He's now a convicted pedophile serving time in prison.
Now, if you already know who the fuck Ian Watkins is, I'm so sorry. And if you don't know, I'm so sorry, because I'm about to tell you. Basically, he was the lead singer of a band called Lost Prophets. And he's presently, like right now, in jail for 35 years because he had some of the most heinous shit imaginable imaginable on his computer about little girls.
He was very open with the fact that he was a pedophile. Just look at this excerpt here. Look at one of the passwords he'd use for his computer.
He even attempted to do things that were so bad, they make Jared from Subway look like an angel.
And he's not remorseful about it either. Like, just read this quote here, where he said he did it for the mega lols, talking about and kids.
This guy, but he was stabbed in jail last year, so I mean, he's alive, but I'm just saying. But in 2010/2011, Jeffree and Ian tweeted back and forth to each other numerous times on Twitter, and all of these are like flirting and kind of insinuating or talking about hanging out in some way. And Jeffree claims they never met in person or anything, which very much could be true, but like with Jeffree, he just lies about everything, and flirting / being even loosely tied to yet another creepy is just not a good look. But to all of this, Clown goes on to say,
Ian did used to flirt with me. We never met.
It's just bizarre that you've had so much contact with these people. There's so many examples of them.
Listen.
Thank you. He's putting Jeffree on blast so much that Keemstar and his other co-hosts have to step in and be like a mediator of sorts. It's actually so iconic.
Clown, you gotta understand the energy.
Is he attracted to that type of person, or?
And I have no idea who Clown is or what he's done or if he's problematic or anything, but kudos to him in this interview for actually having a f***ing backbone. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Chris Hansen. But anyways, they get to the subject of James Charles, and all three of them actually bring up the fact that there is a direct parallel between Jeffree doing a 180 on Dahvie and then doing the same thing, a complete 180 on accusing somebody of being a on James, and then point blank ask him if James is a predator, and if he is this another opportunity for him to do the right thing like with Dahvie? To which Jeffree replies with an insanely long pause.
Is James Charles a danger to society? Is he a predator?
Keem. Listen.
That was a long pause.
And I can feel the energy in the room shift to being annoyed, because this is such a serious question, yet Jeffree just remains playing coy, playing a little game of cat and mouse. But of course that silence alludes to the answer yes. And that prompts him to bring up the infamous voice memo again, stating that he can't share this information without the permission of the alleged victim. And clearly Jeffree forgot that he's not in a room surrounded completely with enablers, cause he was definitely not expecting Clown to say this.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's people that are in our community that are saying things, and I don't know if they're true or not.
But this is exactly the same thing that happened before, right?
Jeffree then goes radio silent. And it's so funny. More people need to talk shit to Jeffree Star, not Tana Mojo, who answers questions like this.
What did I do wrong? Like, to the core of it, what did people think that I did wrong? They just thought I was a shitty person?
I'll never know.
We'll get to that bridge when we get there. But anyways, moving on to the question of whether or not there is validity to this voice memo. If Jeffree truly believes this is legit, he says, we can pause and I'll let you listen to it.
We can pause and I can go in another room and play Banks, what I have on my phone, and he can determine if he would have sent the same tweet.
To which I have to say and bring up, even if I've already said it, imagine how tormenting this must be for the person who is actually assaulted. And Jeffree concludes all of the answers to these questions by saying that he doesn't want to out this person or be disrespectful, no matter what he personally believes is true. And by respectful, he of course means dangling the carrot around all willy-nilly. Jeffree Star 0, Clown 100. So after this interview, the Jeffree Star universe went silent for 1 month, meaning he didn't post again on his channel until June 21st, with a video titled First Date Does My Makeup. And this video really isn't noteworthy at all. The guy seems nice, so congratulations, good job that he got away. However, on this same day, something curious began happening, because T channels began piping up about some alleged insider information they had. Looks by Liam wrote, "Don't tell nobody, but I've heard that Tati will make a video defending James. This is her chance to redeem herself." Then Sebastian Williams wrote, "We were all manipulated. The truth will come out, no matter how hard you try to hide it." And it is possibly worth noting that Jeffree's comments on that aforementioned video were turned off. I'm not really sure yet if it was because of these tweets, but let's put a pin on that theory. Because 2 days later, on June 23rd, Tati started posting cryptic ass tweets. I hate her. Many of which have now been deleted, but they all hinted about something soon being revealed. Example, "You've waited there for me, keep waiting there for me." For someone who claims they are the purveyor of world peace and all things holy, she brings a lot of unnecessary drama onto the web about serious subjects. Anyways, the point is, people are already seeing this and going, what the fuck is going on? Why is everyone acting so darn outlandish? And then the next day, June 24th, things got even crazier because Blair White posted this on her Snapchat story. "I was recently manipulated in a huge way by this man. I was told information by him that's been making my stomach turn for almost a month. Now I'm watching him allow my friend Shane to be destroyed over some shit he caused. I'm scared to speak up, but I feel disgusting holding my tongue." Then on June 28th, she would elaborate on just what she meant by that by posting a video titled, "By Jeffree Star, You're a Monster." And in this bombshell video, she tells the story of Jeffree manipulating and gaslighting her about both Dahvie Vanity and James Charles. So 1 month earlier, after she had released that first Dahvie video we talked about, she replied to a fan on Twitter saying that she was thinking about making a video about Jeffree and specifically his involvement with Dahvie, and said verbatim, "It's really shady." But right after she wrote this, okay, and keep in mind, she didn't at him, she didn't tag him, this was not on his page, okay? Jeffree flies into her DMs and asks if they can FaceTime and asks if he can try to explain himself before she goes on and makes that video. And so she agrees and she gets on this FaceTime and he manages to convince her to not to make that video because he told her so convincingly that a lot of these rumors were false and all the receipts against him were fabricated. However, to her surprise, a few days later when he went on Chris Hansen, his story was completely different than what he told her over the phone.
He said a lot of the things were fake and then went back and said they were real on Chris Hansen and basically showed himself to lie to me.
And like, that's already crazy as f, okay? But she goes on to say that's not even really what this video is about.
This is not the point of this video. That's how he came into contact.
She says that at one point in their conversation about all this, Jeffree says,
"So what's your opinion of James Charles?"
And Blair, understandably, says if he's gonna call James a predator and claim that he has receipts, he needed to actually prove it instead of backing away.
I told him my honest view, which is one that I was public with a year ago when it happened. I felt like if you were going to call him a predator and promise that you had the receipts, you should have proven it and you should have provided those receipts and you shouldn't have tried to back out of it.
Jeffree was fine with that critique, but quickly moved on to say, "Do you want to know what really happened?"
I didn't feel that was right. He said, "Okay, I respect it, but do you want to know the truth?"
She then said yes, but would later regret that because that's when Jeffree sent her this infamous voice memo.
He then provided me with receipts of a voice memo. And this is the point where I wish I would have said no, in a way. But in a way not.
And after she listens to it, Jeffree tells her this.
And then Jeffree proceeds to tell me, "James will never attack me because I have this on him. I have shit on everyone."
Because I have dirt on everyone, and they know to keep their mouths shut.
I'd like to mention that this is Jeffree and Blair's first interaction, by the way. Like, this is crazy. Like, you just met her and you're gaslighting and you're lying and you're throwing around someone's traumatic voice memo again. But to make things worse, Blair claims that this voice memo is very credible.
From a YouTuber who was allegedly sexually molested by James Charles, and it's credible.
And that she already personally reached out to this YouTuber to ask them if they wanted to speak up or talk about it.
I have privately reached out to this YouTuber and said, hey, and I should never have been told this, but I want to let you know it's okay to go public with your story. It's okay to be heard. It is not my place to out this YouTuber's name at all.
Because she personally has been a victim of SA as well.
Or even just to talk to me if you need to, because I am a survivor myself.
But their response was that they did not want to get involved.
I don't view something like this as gossip that you hold over someone's head or whatever. This is something serious. This is a crime. And just the fact that he's blackmailing people with this is disgusting.
Jeffree didn't just tell Blair about James though. He also disclosed the name of another very famous YouTuber who allegedly someone. Blair says she believes that that is credible as well, but that she doesn't know all the details. And this whole thing is really like, what? Unfortunately, it really does seem like James assaulted someone, and just like knowing what we know now about James Charles, that maybe doesn't seem like such a far stretch, but back then he was still in the public's good graces, okay? Like we talked about in part 3, James debunked literally every claim in By Sister except the last one. And that really makes me think that because these idiots like Tati fabricated a bunch of stuff about him, it was easy for him to provide all those receipts for all the stuff that didn't happen, and therefore make people think, well, all of it didn't happen. It's not like there's gonna be one random thing in there that did happen. He disproved everything, right? Does this make sense? God, they're all such fuck-ups. But all this crazy, despicable shit that we've talked about that happened in the last 2 days here got somewhat glazed over, because 2 days later, Tati Westbrook would post, "Breaking my silence." So since Tati's By Sister video, she had begun uploading on her channel again regularly, but had gone completely AFK on that whole situation. So aside from the people who saw her cryptic ass tweets, this video came as a complete surprise and would turn the already swelling tide of Karmageddon into a full-blown tsunami. In it, Tati claims that she did not make By Sister because of vitamins. She made it because
I did not make my video because of vitamins. I made it as a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star.
None of which now she believed to actually be true, with the catalyst to all of this being Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson's jealousy of James's massive success.
Yes, I knew that Shane was friends with Jeffree and that they were working together, but I thought to myself, why would Shane Dawson, the king of truth on YouTube, be turning against James Charles unless these things he was saying were true? He told me that something needed to be done to stop him from hurting more people. He shared with me that he was an empath and that he could feel all of my pain. He told me that God had called me to be a beacon of light for the world so that it could be a better place.
So therefore, they manipulated her into creating By Sister so that they could bring down their biggest rival, said Scary Gummy Bear Woman.
Said evil knife guy.
But she goes on to explain that in early 2019, Jeffree started talking a lot of shit about James in front of her, and that it had become his greatest obsession.
Over the course of the next few weeks, he and Jeffree fed me so much information that I felt sick. Almost every day, there was more information and new allegations. Eventually, I started believing what they were saying because they said they had evidence. By the time the drama around James Charles's promotion of Sugar Bear hair reached its peak, I was beyond gaslit.
Like every chance he had, he was yapping behind James's back. And after months of escalating hatred and resentment, the cherry on top was that Jeffree told her that James was out of control and a monster. He said James Charles was a monster with many victims. And as we've seen in previous videos, Jeffree did in fact have many tweets alluding to James that were posted 1 month before By Sister was even posted. So it actually isn't that hard for me to believe that Jeffree was talking all this mad shit about him. For example, he had written, "Who else has a draft folder full of tweets they wish they could send out?" I want to keep it so real sometimes about the behind the scenes in the beauty community, ... crystal ball, but I'll let karma do its work like it always does. She then also claims, as the umpteenth person who has done so, that Jeffree shared a very convincing voice memo of one of James's victims, which, as she says, didn't scare her enough to go to the police, but scared her enough to make my sister.
Jeffree sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim. The audio was clearly a small portion of a larger conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Interestingly though, Tati says she believes none of these pieces of evidence were real anymore, but simply fabricated by Jeffree and Shane, and that she thinks Shane and Jeffree actually could have staged all of them. And she goes on to literally apologize directly to James. But like, girl, you are 37 years old in 2019 making serious allegations against a 19-year-old based on rumors and which you are not sure are true. Like, yeah, some of these probably are true, but at the time you're saying that you did not know.
I'm sorry that I bought into any of their lies. Believing those lies and allowing myself to be gaslit into making that video is one of the biggest regrets of my life.
That is not an apology. That is shifting blame. An apology is owning up to what you did. I would never accept this apology. Makes me so angry. I hate her so much.
But whether or not Tati actually believed these weren't real at this point, or if she was just trying to save her career and reputation, is still to be determined. Her involvement will forever be bizarre to I and everyone, really. But shortly after this, Shane Dawson would lose his f***ing mind. This is a f***ing lie and I'm losing my mind! Me, when someone says I use Afterpay too much. Shane would then go on Instagram Live to have a very, very infamous live reaction to Tati's video.
So how is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I had—
Because you message drama channels! Oh my god.
I can't even emphasize how bewildered this man is in this video.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. This is so fucked! This is...
He looks like he's about to explode, and he is literally so flustered, he takes a little Roblox sip of water from the faucet before starting the video.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm live because I can't even process. I need a drink of water. I can't process this. This is insane.
Yeah, that's not the sound effect, okay? That's the original audio. I love this so much. Making fun of Shane Dawson is a lifestyle, it's a hobby. It satisfies the entire food pyramid. Every time you make fun of Shane Dawson, a cat gets its kibbles. But Shane accuses Tati of fake crying.
You are so manipulative.
Think of facing public.
You're fake crying. You are fake crying.
Shane then starts wojacking and unleashes a full-blown scream at the TV.
You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my god.
And things quickly go downhill from here.
So how is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I had—
Because you messaged drama channels!
Directly after breaking my silence and Shane's little freak out, fans turned on both him and Jeffree very quickly, with many people calling for Morphe to discontinue any sales of the Conspiracy collection. And there was also a resurgence of old problematic tweets and videos from both of them that were just exploding online. And unfortunately for Morphe, they made the worst decision possible and chose to only remove the Conspiracy palette out of the entire collection from their website. And then they just went radio silent, which then snowballed into people full-blown boycotting them, including Queen Jackie Aina, who then blessed Twitter with her grace and reiterated that she believed Jeffree is a racist, which she has more than enough ammunition ammunition to say, by the way. For more information, please revisit Jeffree Star Part 2. But she wrote that she was discontinuing any affiliate codes with Morphe as well as any other brand that platforms racist, aka Jeffree. Then a full 10 days after Tati's video was uploaded, Morphe would drop and cease all commercial activity with Jeffree, making the following statement on their Twitter. Today we've made the decision to cease all commercial activity related to Jeffree Star and affiliated products. We expect this to conclude within the coming weeks. As we look to the future, we will continue to share updates on what lies ahead for the Morphe brand. And this was a big statement, considering Jeffree was one of Morphe's biggest partners. That's how much this boycott scared them. But they had simply acted too late. Like they had already pissed off every group of people. Not just the people who are already in on the boycott, but the people who love Jeffree. With many of them writing underneath this post, unfollowing, never shopping again, only came for Jeffree. The only reasons I go to the Morphe store is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And so, like the fate of many other canceled individuals, Morphe shipped the remainder of the conspiracy collection out to stores like Ross and TJ Maxx, aka where makeup goes to die, which is just beautiful. It really brings a smile to my face, man. It's like Christmas came early, because Jeffree was hurt by this. When people started posting pictures of Jeffree Star Cosmetics in these stores, he flipped out on Twitter and he wrote, "I think it's time to sit down and do a video update on how this happened and also how Morphe betrayed me by putting me in UK's TJ Maxx stores earlier this year. I'm done being shamed for these lies." Not only this, but people began to point out his hypocrisy, because Jeffree had previously made fun of his ex-bestie Kat Von D for having her makeup brand end up in stores like this.
TJ Maxx is where all my ex-friends go to. What's over here? I'll be over here.
So much so, he felt the need to make a video and address it, where he tries TJ Maxx makeup for the first time. And oh man, in it, he is so clearly trying his hardest to act unbothered, but you can tell he is. Anyways though, the JSC Instagram page finally uploaded a post being like, "We're so sad, I'm crying, what did Morphe do to me?" And that was that. Jeffree did not make a single peep for 1 week before returning with an iconically bad apology video, doing what's right. A video so cringe, its comments were immediately turned off and has since been deleted. And the video begins with Jeffree saying a very solemn, "What's up everybody, how are ya?"
What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel.
And I gotta say, I love how committed he is to saying that, regardless of how serious the subject matter is. Like, even in his racism video.
What's up everybody?
Oh, and that one time he revealed the last of his dark secrets.
What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hi, how are ya?
But he's like, listen, I know last year I said I was gonna stop participating in drama, and I meant that, but now I really mean it. You should trust me.
A year ago, I did a video called Never Doing This Again, and I meant that. And 2020 has been really crazy. When I filmed my video called Never Doing It Again, I meant every word in the video.
Wink, wink. Wink, wink. But shockingly in this video, he does directly apologize to James for spreading the rumors about him.
I would like to personally apologize to James Charles for the words that I've said and for my actions. If I was really close with someone, I should have had the ability to just simply call them and ask and say, hey, these were the things that were being said to me.
Saying they were based on information others were feeding him.
I let people really gas me up, get me going behind the scenes, and I really fell for a lot of things and I got caught up in the hype.
So he's basically saying he got Tati'd. Nice try, guys. Only one of you can have that story. But he's not a villain in a movie. He's not gonna release 1 million text messages.
I'm not a villain in a movie, and today I will not be sitting here showing 1 million text messages and all these things that allegedly are out there. That's not it. I will not be entertaining it.
Because he doesn't want to create any more drama.
Did I mix myself up in drama? Did I speak on things I shouldn't have speak on? Of course I did. Did I believe certain things instead of asking the source? Did I get caught up in the hype? Did I do dumb shit? 100%. And that is my fault.
Did I do caca? Yes. Did I poop out caca? Yes. Of course I did. Should I have shitted it out? Definitely not. And that is my fault.
Did I slip up? Am I human? Have I done some fucked up things? Of course I have. And that is my fault.
Jeffree, all your apologies are the same. Please switch it up a little bit. Oh, and your lawyers are telling you to release this information?
And today I will not be sitting here showing a million text messages and all these things that allegedly are out there. That's not it. I will not be entertaining it. My lawyers are entertaining it behind the scenes, but I will not be.
Why would a lawyer ever tell you to do that? That's not their job. Saul Goodman, should I tell everyone this person's business? Should I out a victim online, Saul Goodman? But anyways, he then goes on to defend Shane Dawson, because while Jeffree had remained relatively unbothered by his cancellation, outside of the whole TJ Maxx thing, of course, Shane had remained on a long descent into madness. Like, just 4 days before freaking out on that live stream, he had posted a 20-minute apology video going over the various ways in which he's discriminated against people. And I mean, if you haven't seen Shane's old videos, don't worry. We're gonna go over them in his deep dive. But just know that they are how the f did this happen racist. Anyways, from what I understand, this apology video was not received too well. I mean, he turned off the comments and there's memes about it, most likely because people felt like he was doing too little, too late. But Jeffree says although he doesn't agree with Shane's behavior from 10 years ago, he's one of his best friends, and that the two of them had just ended up in the drama somehow, like as if he has no idea how this could have possibly happened. And because Jeffree's racism was also brought up at this time, he tries to defend himself and his makeup brand by saying he's always portrayed people of color in his advertising and made shades for every ethnic group.
From the very first ad of my company, I have always shown people of color.
He says this as if it's the ultimate proof that he is not racist and that he's never done anything racist for Jeffree Star Cosmetics, which we know is not true because he literally had Nikki Dragon doing blackface. Not only this, but the treatment of Kameron Lester is a little more than questionable. Regardless, most CEOs adhere to diversity standards. Does that mean they give a f? No, of course not. They're only scared of public backlash, unless you're a brand like Ben & Jerry's, of course, which is incredibly based, but that's exceptionally rare. And what's actually crazy is that he's once again trying to divert attention from his whole thing that just went down with James Charles by saying we should be focusing more on important things like Black Lives Matter, as well as the murder of Breonna Taylor.
Now, Breonna Taylor still has no justice. Black trans women are being murdered every day and the news is silent.
And that is a lot to unpack, okay? Like, firstly, people are not crazy for asking you to speak on some crazy things that you said or question you about them, regardless of what else is happening outside of that, because that is not the purpose of the video you are presently making, okay? Secondly, to bring up murdered people of color to say, hey, don't look at what I'm doing is actually really fucked up and despicable. But even if you ignore that, the last thing he does in this video is plug one of his new beauty products.
What is next? You guys know, Jeffree Star Cosmetics will never be slowing down, and I'm so excited for everything that is coming for the rest of 2020.
So like, are we supposed to focus on more important things, or are we supposed to focus on your newest beauty launch?
I will be back very soon with new videos, new makeup tutorials, and of course, new products.
And his background? Do I even need to say it? How disingenuous does it look to be sitting in your like $20 million mansion looking like a fucking fancy little dog on your golden couch in a pink bathrobe? Like, seriously, who the f let him do this. Most celebrities, when apologizing for something, at least attempt to look vaguely down to earth. An example of this is Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher filming in front of like a fucking barn. But get this, he also says,
I've never blackmailed anyone in my life, I've never committed a crime before, and I've never been to jail.
Feeling the need to say this is so funny. No one was even accusing you of committing a crime. Like, where is that coming from?
I've never committed a crime before.
Now, 4 days after Jeff shit the dookie from his mouth, Shane would post an incredibly long and incriminating novella on Twitter, which condemned the beauty community and deflected any involvement he may have had with Dramageddon 2 by basically throwing every other beauty guru under the bus. And when reading this thing, it's extremely clear that he picked up on Jeffree Star's PR tactics. I'm gonna read it to you and let me know if you pick up on the Jeffree isms. Also, like I said, this is a novella, so if you would like to skip it, it's gonna be in the timestamps below. However, it is hilarious, so I recommend. Welcome to the circus. My final thoughts on the beauty world. A few questions that I have been getting lately. Number 1, did I know that she was thinking about making a video? Yes. 2, did I tell her to make a video? No. Did I have any involvement with the video? No. 4, did I orchestrate it? No. Did I need that kind of drama to make a good series? No. 6, have I ever tried to ruin a career or make someone look bad in my 15 years on YouTube? No. 7, do I have a track record of getting into drama with people and having fights with other YouTubers? No. 8, am I innocent and don't have huge anxiety-provoking regrets about how I could have helped everyone handle everything better? No. I've had a pit in my stomach since it all happened. Love how in his number 8, he accidentally says he is guilty, by the way. But he goes on to say, now onto my final thoughts on the beauty world and my experience in it. The conspiracy palette was one of the best experiences of my life. The series with Jeffree changed my life and changed me as a person. It helped me be more confident and stand up for myself, which I've always been bad at. So to honor the series and what I learned from it, I'm gonna say this. The beauty gurus who are always involved in scandals are all the fucking same. They are all attention-seeking, game-playing, egocentric, narcissistic, vengeful, two-faced, time-ticking bombs ready to explode. And I'm over it. Yes, they are talented, creative, smart, and love makeup, but they are also joined on a side of the internet that is obsessed with looks, money, power, fame, screenshots, and subtweets, releasing private texts, voice memos, emails, and other receipts as a way to paint yourself in a particular light or someone else in a bad light is weird to me, and I will never engage in that. That is a game they know how to play well, and I would rather eat my hands off than play it. Yes, Jeffree is on that list of dramatic gurus, and he would admit that, and he will always be family to me, and I love him despite those characteristics. He's very aware of the fact that I don't agree with many of the ways he approaches situations, and I have been very honest with him about needing to make some changes. But as for being in the beauty world, I can't take the drama anymore, and it's not how I am wired, so I'm out. It's draining, exhausting, depressing, and sometimes amazing. But for me, the amazing is outweighed by the bad. I can't have a pit in my stomach every day waiting for the next scandal or the next exposed video. It's going to give me mental health issues, and I'm done caring about it anymore. I've never been involved in drama with another YouTuber ever, and the second I decided to plan a beauty series, boom, I'm in a hurricane. So did I plan Dramageddon? Are you serious? No. Do people in the YouTube world come to me like a grandma and tell me their problems and ask for advice? Yes. Is it easy for me to get wrapped up in something potentially toxic if I think someone I love is hurting or upset? Yes. It's an issue I need to work on and have been working on. When she, Tati, told me how upset she was in person, I had the same reaction the world did when they saw her video. I felt awful for her, and she seemed heartbroken. So I tried to be there for her and be someone she could talk to about it. So was I shocked when she decided to make a video? No. Was I shocked that Tati read his ass for fucking filth? Yes. I wasn't acting. I didn't know it was gonna be that intense. Looking back, I still still believe her on a lot of what she said, and I believe she felt it was what she needed to do at the time. Does she regret it? Probably. Does it mean we should see James as some kind of poor, innocent, sweet angel? No. Don't get it twisted. Him and Jeffree have always been at the top of the dramatic guru list, and I mean that with love. Did I warn James about the video? No. Why? For reasons that I will never discuss. We've spoken privately on it, and that's that. Do I think James is the devil? No. By the way, here comes my favorite part, you guys. Do I think James is the devil? No. Do I think he was a young, egocentric, power-hungry guru who needed to be served a slice of humble pie the size of the fucking Empire State Building? Yes. Has he grown as a person since then? It really seems like it. And that's amazing. I'm truly happy if he's realized how his ego was affecting others, which he did address in his No More Lies video. Do I think Tati is a villain? No. I think Tati was sick of being treated like shit by so many in the beauty world and finally snapped. And damn, did she fucking snap all the way off. Holy shit. She really said fuck it and beat her face for the gods and popped on that ring light and went full Game of Thrones on that shit. Say what you want about her or that video, but that shit will be in the history books. Fucking YouTube Rewind even gave it an acknowledgement. Damn, okay, sorry, back to my rant. Do I think Jeffree orchestrated this whole situation? No. Tati is a strong woman who made a choice. Do I think Jeffree was also upset by some issues with James and some of the things he heard behind the scenes? Yes. Was Jeffree excited to see a competitor fall? Probably. He's Jeffree fucking Star. What do you expect? I guess I missed the part where he got baptized and devoted his life to Christ. Did Jeffree take it too far and fuck up big time by tweeting what he did? Yes. And it's one of the biggest regrets of his life. This all happened over a year ago, and I'm really sick of hearing about it and having people constantly using it as a way to keep my name and others tagged together in drama videos. Don't get it twisted. Drama will never end with a lot of these people. It's their game, their survival, their drug. They love it. This specific drama went too far, obviously, and hopefully something like that never happens again. Putting drama in the trailer, as in, you know, his video trailer, was something I regret more than anything in the world, and I'm mad that I chose tea over my morals. Although I did speak to both of them privately about the trailer, I shouldn't have ever done it at all. Drama might be fun to watch, but it's not fun to get wrapped up in, and it's my fault for letting that happen, and I'm sick of being trapped in the middle of it. Do I think this will be the last drama involving these people? Ha 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 ha. No. No, I don't. Do I ever want to be involved ever again? Fuck no. Remember to not expect these gurus to maintain some kind of high moral code, and we shouldn't have some they must be perfect or they'll be canceled mentality. The reason you watch these people is because they are so extra. They are dramatic, and if you keep canceling them and wanting them to go away, then who will you talk about? You don't go to the circus to watch the hay on the ground. You go to watch the over-the-top performers who just want to be liked and want to do whatever they can to get your attention. If you don't want to feed into it, then don't. But before all the drama-free gurus pop off at me and say, well, I'm not involved in drama and I'm perfect. Girl, please. Your top viewed videos are probably top makeup fails and anti-hauls with vomit emojis all over the screen. And that's okay. I love those videos. But let's not pretend that the beauty world isn't negativity first, makeup second. It's just how it is, and I'm sick of people pretending to be so above it all. And with that said, I love watching beauty channels of all sizes, and I will continue to watch and support them. The dramatic ones, the non-dramatic ones, and the ones who genuinely just love to show their makeup skills. Sadly, those channels get way less views for the reasons I have stated above. So go, enjoy the gurus, enjoy the circus. Unsubscribe from me if you're mad that I am no longer engaging in it. Unsubscribe to the gurus you don't like. Subscribe to the ones you do. Just don't take the beauty world as seriously as I did, or as many of us did in 2019. It's not worth it, and I feel like we all lost a bit of our soul during Dramageddon. As for my channels, I'm done with the beauty world. I love what I was able to create with Jeffree, and I'm sure people are going to assume I only did it for money. He did. But that's not true. I just am choosing to no longer be a part of that world. I will still watch beauty videos, buy and play with makeup, and be a part of it in my time offline. But as for being a part of it in that world on YouTube, I don't think it's for me. I need to get back to why I started YouTube back in 2005, and that was to make things that bring me joy, not drama. The racism? And to make movies one day. Makeup will for now just be a fun hobby I have to help with my anxiety, like slime or emotional eating, and that all sounds really good to me right now. And then, you guys, he never wore makeup ever again. And there is so much that's insane about this. For one, if you suspect that James could be a predator at all, I mean, at least enough that you supported Jeffree through Dramageddon, then how the hell is he not a bad person? And if you're that close to Jeffree, who you, as you say yourself, was celebrating the fall of James Charles, then how could you possibly have been so removed from it? And after all these years, first with Jeffree saying that he's not humble and that's why he didn't like him when he was 16, and then with Cameron Lester's allegation that Shane was screaming over the phone that James needed to be humbled, all leading up to this, to him saying he needed to be served a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building, it just doesn't look good for him. Fans were just over it. And while Shane would take over a year to return to YouTube after this, Jeffree would post a clickbait video titled "Addressing Rumors About Me" just 1 month after these scandals. And of course, with a title like that, people thought he would have something of substance to say. But after watching this video, I realized that he only addresses 2 rumors that are 100,000% irrelevant and just of zero importance. Firstly, the skepticism of his robbery that we discussed in J-Star episode 3.
There's someone that tried to say that there's a police report from Jeffree Star Cosmetics at our warehouse in our robbery that we only had $10,000 of things lost.
And secondly, Grandma Mary.
My grandma Mary, she's real age is 103.
And I'm not even gonna explain what the hell he said about those 2 things, because you know his ass was lying. It's more so important to know that after this video, his views began plummeting, like a lot. Like after this, he only even got semi-close to his previous views when his video was either controversial or clickbait. And I cannot stress enough how relieving it was for me to see people finally over his bullshit, especially with this next part. We're gonna be getting into some seriously heavy topics, so trigger warning. I'll be marking this chapter accordingly down below. If you are not in the headspace to hear about things like SA and suicide, I highly recommend waiting to watch this until you feel ready, or just skipping right over it to the next section. Just know that it is not good and we are talking about very, very serious allegations. So, in the Chris Hansen section, I mentioned Jeffree having his own SA allegations, which, by the way, are shockingly very much not well known. In fact, I had written a decent amount of my research already before even finding this out. There are lists and lists of Jeffree's controversies, many of which do talk about things like Dahvie and his racism and anti-Semitism, but rarely do we get to this. This is going to be a very tough amount of information to swallow, but my entire goal with this video series was to explore and unpack the entire history of Jeffree's career, whether his scandals were petty, narcissistic, or even undoubtedly evil. And I sincerely hope that you choose to believe the victims as I do. On August 23rd, 2020, a man named Gage Arthur did an interview with Christopher Stone, the owner of the website Sticky Drama, which was the same website where 10 years prior, Damien Leonhardt's friend had exposed them for having a sexual relationship with Dahvie Vanity. And the title of it is Jeffree Star Tased, Drugged, and raped me. And in it, Gage recounts this very traumatic incident that allegedly happened. But in 2008, Gage was 17 years old, and he and his roommate had big dreams of being internet celebrities, just like Jeffree Star, because this was the peak of Jeffree being popular on MySpace. And he had recently acquired his celebrity friends, such as Kat Von D. So he was up there. And so their mutual interests led Jeffree to begin chatting with them over MySpace. And shortly after this, Gage and his roommate invited him to come visit their apartment in Texas. And during this visit, Jeffree had immediately begun pursuing Gage, even though he was a teenager and identified as straight. Ew. Jeffree was 23 in 2008. But anyways, in 2009, Gage ended up moving to LA to be closer to a lot of his internet friends. But he really struggled in LA from the get-go. He didn't have an official place to stay and relied solely on couch surfing. So he was essentially homeless. And due to this vulnerability, he accepted Jeffree's offer to allow him to crash at his place. And so on their first night of living together, November 10th, 2009, Gage and Jeffree went to a movie together with two other friends. And during this movie, Jeffree attempted to hold his hand, but Gage rejected him, which, because Jeffree has the mentality of a 4chan incel, when they all exited the theater, Jeffree attacked him with a taser in the parking lot. He then says, later that night, Jeffree threatened him with that same taser again, and quite literally then forced Ambien down his throat. And as soon as he was incapacitated, he proceeded to sexually assault him. It's really terrible and fucked up. Like, I don't even have the words to say how horrible that is. And what makes it even worse is that Gage claims that he isn't the only victim, that Jeffree had an illegitimate prescription of this drug, which he used to do the exact same thing to other boys, which is really not that hard to believe when tweets like this around the same time frame exist. Now, Christopher Stone, this sticky drama guy, absolutely sucks at being a human being. Like, the language he uses to describe this assault is so vulgar and insensitive, and I hate it. But with that being said, I do appreciate that he provided evidence to corroborate Gage's story. Firstly, he brings up that there's an old stick cam video that literally shows Jeffree kissing him when he was a 17-year-old minor, which is already bad enough, okay? Point blank, case closed, fuck this guy. Literally, even if you didn't know anything else, should be enough to not support him. But anyways, Jeffree literally has a tweet from the same day that Gage is claiming he was assaulted. And it says, going to the movies with at Stephen Troy, at Anthony Vanity, and at Gage Arthur. Next, there's a tweet from November 11th, 2009, which is so disgusting when you put it into context. It's a picture of both of them captioned "just waking up," not to mention the fact that there are tons of tweets, pictures, and videos of Jeffree using a taser.
Oh, hell no. Let's go right now. I'll kill you, bitch!
And a month after this blog post went up, Jeffree's attorney contacted them to take it down. But luckily, Business Insider took notice to this, and they came out with an article on October 1st, 2020. And this is a second, more detailed interview with Gage, as well as some other victims of groping and insane online bullying. It's titled, "Jeffree Star Accusers Say the Makeup Mogul Has a History of Sexual Assault, Violence, and Hush Money," which is a lengthy title, I know, but very, very necessary. And starting with Gage, there's even more evidence here and people that corroborate his story. For example, 4 people told Insider that during Jeffree's early 20s, they witnessed him use a stun gun to hurt and intimidate the people around around him on multiple occasions. Then 5 people told Insider that they had witnessed Jeffree use a taser on a homeless teen who rejected his advances in a movie theater. The homeless teen in question, of course, being Gage Arthur. And when asked about what Gage told them at the time about all this, they all corroborated what is exactly the same story, citing that he had been threatened and given sleeping pills. And this all gets even more incriminating, believe it or not, because 1 month earlier in September, unbeknownst to the public, Insider had reached out and requested for Jeffree to comment on these allegations, after which Jeffree promptly deleted those aforementioned tweets about Gage. And then Jeffree's attorneys contacted Insider to tell them that this wasn't true and questioned their sources, to which Insider actually responded, further detailing the allegations and the sources. And this is very, very important. Remember that. Now, another very important person involved with this article is a woman named Chris Avery Bennett, and she has her own section in this, recounting Jeffree's relentless online bullying of her. At the time, Chris was just 15 years old and running a gay rights MySpace page. And at the time, she was using male pronouns. She's trans femme, which I wouldn't mention, but I definitely think that context is important here. And so she alleges that Jeffree anonymously emailed her a picture of his dick, which again, at the time he was 23 years old. But she says she knows it was him because of the ice cream tattoo that was visible on his finger. And unfortunately, she can't provide the picture because it was sent to a now deleted AOL account. And AOL notoriously deletes inactive emails after a few years. So that all adds up. She goes on to say that she didn't answer the email because, of course, what the hell even was all that? And despite it all, she reached out to Jeffree on his public MySpace wall in 2009 to ask if he could write some words of positivity on her gay rights page, to which Jeffree responded, and I quote, "You are disgusting and nobody will ever take you seriously. Stop calling yourself fierce." Yeah, so he's really been up to the same bullshit his entire life, hasn't he? Anyways though, this resulted in a ton of Jeffree's fans coming over to her page to harass her. And it was very, very intense stuff. So much so that it contributed to her attempting in 2010 at the age of 16 and literally having to stay in a mental hospital, which is all documented, by the way. Jeffree owes this person a huge apology and financial compensation as well, because that's insane. But I guess I can't be that surprised considering he dogpiled on an 11-year-old. Not to mention the whole dick pic. Ew. And to quote Chris, "Jeffree Star was my first bully, my first real bully and abuser." Chris told Insider, "Jeffree is a bully, but the way Jeffree does things goes far beyond and turns into actual abuse and harm." So none of the MySpace posts or comments between Star and Bennett are available for Insider to review, and there was no record of them stored in the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. But the online archive did store a version of Bennett's second MySpace profile, which she created after deleting her first MySpace account in 2009, and features a section called "Why Jeffree Star Messed Up," referencing these exact harassment allegations to a T. In other words, there is a paper trail of evidence that this likely did happen. Now, Jeffree's attorneys responded to this claim as well, stating, "Mr. Star has never sent a picture of his penis to anyone," the letter read, adding that Bennett did not identify the additional tattoos on Star's hand that he said would have been visible in such a photo. Wow, amazing defense. You're saying this 15-year-old was supposed to remember every single tattoo he had 10 years later? And look, I don't mean to harp on myself in this situation. We are talking about these people, these victims. But I just want to say, an adult man also sent me nudes of himself when I was 15, and do I remember any of his tattoos? Hell No. I try to block that out of my mind. In fact, she's lucky she even remembers the one. Also, the whole he's never sent a nude to anyone. Are you f***ing kidding me? Yeah, sure. Never sent a nude. Never taken a drink. Never done drugs. Never partied. Yeah, sure. Anyways, though, then something really strange happened. Because just a few days before this article was set to come out, Gage Arthur sent this DM to Chris on Facebook, and it reads, "The events I discussed with Business Insider were from many years ago. I am not sure I am remembering things correctly, and I may have misinterpreted things. I've decided to retract my communications to Business Insider and told them they don't have authority to publish anything I discussed with them. To resolve all of this, Jeffree Star has agreed to pay you $10,000 if you choose to do the same. Send a number and I'll send it over if you want." Okay, first of all, this message could not possibly sound any more robotic. The mention of Business Insider twice, perfectly capitalized, and saying Jeffree Star, his full name specifically. Oh, so his attorneys really gave him a whole ass copy pasta. Like, I am so pissed. And by no means am I saying that this is Gage's fault. It's horrible what he went through, and that now, all these years later, still, Jeffree is refusing to take accountability, and he's putting him in this position where he feels he has to accept this money because of whatever situation he's in. Which, by the way, don't get me wrong, $10,000 is a lot. It can change someone's life. But it's greedy as coming from Jeffree. Really? You can only spare that much for someone you have hurt so badly? I'm so fucking disgusted. And it's so obvious what's happening here. Hush money. And so Chris told Insider she refused the attempt to pay 10 grand for my silence. Two other sources who had previously told Insider on the record that they had witnessed physical violence by Star subsequently changed their story after Arthur changed his. 4 hours after sending an email attempting to retract his allegations, one of those people sent text messages to Insider that said, "Gage approached me at midnight with some sort of explanation and deal that I didn't see until this morning." The person then wrote, "I'm sure you won't hear from him again," and added the $sign symbol. And then the next day, Star's attorney sent a letter to Insider making it clear that he was aware of Arthur's effort to retract his statements, which then gave them the opportunity to attempt to cast doubt on Gage's story by providing information from a woman named Amore Hilton, which apparently Amore Hilton was MySpace famous at the time of this all occurring, and she allegedly considers Gage to be her best friend, and she alleges that Gage and Jeffree hooked up but that it was consensual, and Gage had reached out to her to say if she talked to Insider and supported him, he would take care of her later if he did indeed receive a monetary settlement with Jeffree. But I don't take anything she has to say seriously because she's dumb as rocks. Right after she says this, she goes on to ridicule the idea that a man could be sexually assaulted, stating Gage is the exact same height and the exact same width of Jeffree, and there's no way he could have been blank. Come on, dude, grow the F up. Like, bye. This invalidates literally everything you've just said. Congratulations, you're an idiot. Oh yeah, and the cherry on top of this is that apparently she's Ron Jeremy's niece, who, if you didn't know, is a porn star that got outed for assaulting multiple people, including a 15-year-old. And so if you're not questioning that, understandably, you wouldn't hesitate to throw your own best friend under the bus.
Filed against Ron Jeremy, the LA County DA's office says they are charging the adult film star with another 20 sexual assault counts involving 13 women that date back to 2004.
And what makes me the most sad about Gage's story, besides obviously just how much Jeffree hurt him, it's how much it still hurts him. To quote the Sticky Drama article, "I want to talk to Jeffree and tell him how what he did affected me. I've tried many times to reach out to him, but he never responds. So that's why I want to do this, because I hope that Jeffree will see this and reach out to me." He also says, "I have PTSD from it. Like I was hanging out with a group group of drag queen friends who were joking around with a taser, and when I heard the tasers clicking, I got super uncomfortable and nauseous. I feel so bad for Gage. You were so young and so vulnerable, and I just hate that Jeffree was able to leave everyone that he hurt in the dust. And I just hate this privilege in this world where, you know, if you rape someone, you can be a millionaire with $200 million and you can be the president of the United States. Like, fuck all of that. And I hate that people don't understand just how extensive Jeffree's history of lying is. And look, if you don't see how all of this is connected in terms of public perception and in terms of behavior, don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna link it all up together in just a moment. But this isn't even where the evidence that Business Insider provides of his pattern ends, because they bring up that there's several clips of Jeffree grabbing people by their genitals without consent, including one that's widely circulated of Jeffree grabbing a guy's penis at Warped Tour and saying, "I knew it was big." And in response to this clip that so many people have seen, Jeffree's attorney said the video was of Star and a friend jokingly touching one another, which was then uploaded to Star's YouTube channel purely for entertainment. And now I'm not gonna play it here. If you'd like to, you can look it up at your own time. I just don't feel comfortable showing it, but you can very clearly, and my opinion, see that is not the case. And whether or not his attorneys agree, multiple other people say they witnessed him grabbing people unconsensually, and that quite frankly was normal behavior for him. So much so, a former Warped Tour stage manager named Zach Neal told Insider, quote, he personally witnessed Star grope both guys and girls, and described one of Star's shticks as pulling his young-looking fans on stage for sexually charged encounters. Quote, things like three-way kissing and feeling each other up. It was the reason we never booked him again, Neal said. We used to book him at various venues in the Northeast, and someone who worked with me used to book him at tours and shows. Once I became aware of that behavior, that was it. I didn't want anything to do with him. So, no wonder why he hates Dahvie so much. He needs someone to project his own crimes and self-hatred onto. Literally everything you accuse everyone else of, you have also done, and then some, and worse. But clearly you can't live with yourself, so it's just really easy to make everyone else the enemy. There's also a man named Britton Straw, who also claims that Jeffree groped him in 2007 when he was 18 years old, and he was working at a venue called Beto's. Basically, the owner introduced the two of them, and shortly after, Jeffree pointed out his spandex shorts and proceeded to grab his junk. Britton himself says, I was just kind of shocked. When the Me Too stuff started happening, all these things that seemed to be smaller transgressions were coming out, and it was like, whoa, wait a second, I was assaulted, and it never really clicked. After a while, it dawned on me, that was pretty fucked up. And that is literally so scary to think about, okay? The amount of people that Jeffree has probably allegedly done this to is likely to be astronomical. There has to be tons of people that are just too scared to say anything. And similar to Gage, Britton has tried to reach out privately to Jeffree for years, simply seeking an apology. And Jeffree can't even do that. Instead, he has to get his attorneys to try and defame him as well. Britton Straw shared screenshots of his DMs to Star over the years with Insider, which contained unanswered messages such as, hey Jeffree, I really don't want to have to call you out in public, but your lack of response is kinda telling. Please, I'm asking you as a human being who you violently groped in public. Please respond. Star's attorney denied that Star Star groped Straw, writing to Insider that Mr. Straw used this same fabricated story 6 years ago to try and extort money from Mr. Star. Star's legal team did not provide evidence of Straw's attempting to extort money from Star, and Straw denied that he has ever contacted Star in pursuit of money. Yeah, that's because he never tried to extort money. I believe him. I believe him. If you had concrete proof that someone was trying to extort you, tried to blackmail money out of you, why would you not use it? It's the same thing with all of Jeffree's wrongdoings. Would apologizing to them and compensating them an appropriate amount of money for the trauma that you caused them? Would that not be better to do than all of this, all of the back and forth with attorneys, all of the lies? Would it not be easier? You literally should be in jail. Giving them a real apology and life-changing money is getting the easy way out. You have insane amounts of money. Do you truly believe that you've done nothing wrong? Or do you just stuff it to the back of your mind every day? Or, and this one's probably more likely, you just don't care. You just don't care about anyone. And what a fucked up life that is. And do you know what other thing is driving me absolutely insane about this? Remember when we talked about all that drama with Jeffree and Andre and him accusing him falsely of stealing his Louis Vuitton? Yeah, well, that happened one day before this article dropped. Jeffree and his attorneys had been talking back and forth with Insider for the entirety of August. Jeffree knew that this article was being made, and I truly think that he was aware of what day it was going to be published. So in order to deter attention away from it, he got everyone talking about something unrelated and stupid. And some people might say I'm tinfoil hatting about this. Maybe I am, but I do not think so. Not when there's so much evidence of him intentionally and methodically crafting narratives to manipulate thousands and thousands of people. And as funny as that whole Andre situation was, I ended up being completely blindsided by my whole premeditated evil theory. And I mean, that is quite literally evil. But just 8 days after this bombshell Business Insider article, on October 9th, 2020, Jeffree posted this tweet. "Tomorrow there will be a brand new video on my channel. I'm scared, but it's time." Just completely ignoring not only the article, but every other controversy. And again, a lot of people didn't know and still don't know about this article. But for those who did read it and wanted to demand accountability from Jeffree, all of their comments would go unread. Because when Jeffree posted this stupid video titled, "I have some really bad news," it is painfully obvious that he blocked thousands of keywords in his comment section. Seriously, scan through all of them. Old and new, okay? No mention of Dahvie, no mention of Sticky Drama, no mention of Insider, nada. But in this freaking video, his concerns are about how Andre made him look bad, and how someone made a fake account of him and was spreading a bunch of lies.
Random person made a fake account of Andre and proceeded to make up a bunch of crazy stuff about me. People were falling for fake news.
This fake account story is true. Like we already discussed in his interview, he only seems vaguely annoyed that he was falsely accused. But either way, he's gonna start suing news sources that state those things as facts.
So if you're a news site and you mention anything that the fake profile said as facts, see him in court.
He then mentions that his dog has cancer, and then the rest of the whole entire video, I shit you not, is him getting his ears pierced and showing off his home reservations.
You climb up here?
Yeah.
He's so full of shit.
To hear crazy rumors about Jeffree does meth, Jeffree has AIDS, Jeffree has this, Jeffree does this, I was like, what? The meantime, I'm over here at home, running my business, dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety.
Like, feel bad for me. I accused an innocent black man of stealing from my house. And now I'm mad because online trolls are hurting my feelings. Ugh, my life is so hard in my $20 million mansion. Give me a break. You harass people always and forever, Jeffree Lynn. I'm sorry. Are the online troll accounts too much for you? That's real sad, but remember the time where you bullied a kid into a mental hospital? Actually, you contributed to that twice.
Everybody, this is Jeffree Star, and I just want to let you know that this fall I will be on The Scene is Dead tour with Blood on the Dance Floor.
And of course, we have the Jeffree Star taser. I think they might be illegal, but you know, that's what sucking a police officer's dick's for, I guess.
The fate of Jeffree Star. So all of that was horrible, and I can't stress this enough, okay? This video was hard to make. Like, I knew when I started this whole endeavor that I was gonna clock him for every problematic thing that he had ever done in his career, top to bottom. But never did I imagine before writing this script that the gravity of the situation would be this bad. There is a lot that he needs to be held accountable for. So before you watch Cancelled Podcast or Just Trish, seriously consider who the fuck they've invited back onto this platform. With all that being said, what is the fate of Jeffree Star? What is he doing now? What happened after his seemingly final cancellation? And why is he popping up so much in 2024? Near the end of 2020, Jeffree announced that he was selling his cursed LA mansion to buy another mansion in Wyoming and starting a farm to raise yaks.
So every yak that is staying at the Star Yak Ranch and we are using for breeding or just to love on, they all have names like Hi, Titanic, Gold Rush, Rich Bitch.
And also to evade taxes, probably. And if this seems completely out of left field and like a midlife crisis, that's because it definitely is.
It's a little shocking, right?
It is. I think that underneath it all, I really, I love outdoor stuff. I love camping, and I love just sitting by the river and chilling.
Okay, it's bizarre. It is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard of. Then, in 2021, Jeffree made another announcement saying that he was opening a makeup and meat store, which is exactly what it sounds like. Yaks that yacked out on his farm were set to be served at this store along with Jeffree Star Cosmetics makeup. And this makeup and meat store pretty much opened in the middle of nowhere on July 14th. There can't be that many fans out there, seriously. It's the least populated state in America. Then, 2 years after Karmageddon, Shane Dawson would attempt to revive the Jeffree Star series, clearly hoping that they could enter their millionth redemption arc, starting with the cancelled world of Jeffree Star, which upon release would flop incredibly hard in comparison to the previous episodes of the series. And as you can see here, they straight up lost 20 million viewers. That is like the Pompeii of flopping. And I'm so serious when I say that the public sympathy for these two fuckers being astronomically lower cured about 2% of my bipolar depression. I felt very balanced that day. Okay, but besides these floponomics, the actual content itself went from bad to worse. And I won't harp on these episodes too much because they're pathetic, to say the least. Quite frankly, I felt Dutch ovened by this whole reboot. But this one opens up with Shane's famously overdramatic music, while Chris, Shane's new videographer, looks around for him in his house.
Summertime,
Oh, hey. Summertime. Hi. Where's Shane?
And so he's looking, and when he finally finds him, Shane is literally kicking his feet and pondering at his fountain. I can't even believe how much Shane manages to babyfy himself. Goo goo gaga. Oh man, I'm so sad. I'm so sad that I served a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building. But like with most of these documentaries, there isn't much depth to it. In fact, this whole first episode is just all clickbait. Like, Jeffree isn't even in this episode, okay? Not physically. There's only two important things you need to know. Firstly, Jeffree and him get on the phone and he drops this crazy secret on Shane, which he keeps alluding to for the rest of the video and just teasing it. Secondly, he explains that he and Jeffree had planned a second palette that would release in 2020 as a follow-up to Conspiracy.
Me and Jeffree were gonna do another palette, and we literally made it. We don't have the finished packaging, but we have the actual palette.
But they didn't release it due to them A, being canceled, and B, COVID.
And that was like back in February of 2020. Then obviously everything happened. And then on top of that, COVID and just so many other things.
And what the hell the palette looks like and what the hell Jeffree's secret is used as a tool to make an episode 2. And so in the next video, Shane and his boring ass husband, Ryland.
I think Ryland's boring as fuck and just doesn't need a podcast.
Go to Wyoming to see Jeffree's obscenely large house that he lives in alone with his pet yaks and his meat yaks.
These are our loved animals. Now behind me, these animals are going to actually slaughter tomorrow. There is 0 grain or treats given to our yaks that will become food, where our pets in the pastures, you'll see us giving them apple and oat treats.
So they arrive to the airport and Jeffree pulls up to get them out and he's kind of unrecognizable. Sure, he's wearing the same type of tracksuit that he always wears, but he looks unmistakably more bald, for lack of a better word. But they all huddle into Jeffree's brand new electric Hummer.
So we actually just bought the all brand new electric Hummer.
Because according to him, he doesn't like carbon emissions anymore.
In our last series, giving off a lot of emissions on the planet with all those private jets. We've gone green now.
And has changed his ways. He is no longer a private jet user. Yeah, sure. But they're driving away and Jeffree pulls out a gun mid-fucking sentence.
Don't worry, I got you. Oh my god!
And this isn't even a normal gun, okay? This is a gun with a silencer attachment. Why does he need a silencer attachment? Like, he made a full Call of Duty loadout for his, like, secondary weapon, because what is this? This opens up my eyes to a new question. Is Jeffree a murderer? But he passes this gun to, like, the least eligible person to hold a gun ever, Shane Dawson, and he's holding it, quivering in fear.
And never towards anyone.
While Jeffree tries to give him like a gun safety lesson.
Then you go like this. Let me see this finger. There.
Wait, no, don't.
No, over the trigger. There, so it's safe and you don't pull. There it is. Yay! Oh.
And get this, then he just stores it by his gas pedal and brake.
Put it under here for now.
Like, I'm not a gun owner, so I don't fucking know. But what if it like goes off in your car or it goes under your brake? Like, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. And you know, speaking of car accidents, Jeffree actually talks about getting into a car accident here in Wyoming where his stupid Rolls Royce rolled over 3 times and I guess he almost died. Which, you know, you would really hope would change his outlook on life and make his heart grow 2 sizes or something. Like, I don't know, actually try being a good person to people. But unfortunately, it was quite the contrary. Now, this car accident is a little interesting because there's a whole conspiracy theory about whether or not he actually actually got injured in this crash. Like, people straight up think that this is another PR stunt. So this was Jeffree's tweet directly after the crash. He said, "This morning was one of the scariest moments of our entire lives. I'm so grateful to be here still. I'm in excruciating pain because part of my back is broken and I have vertebrae fractures on my spine. My doctor said it will take a few months, but I should make a full recovery." So there's a couple reasons why people are sus about this, okay? The first day he crashed, there's pictures of him in the hospital wearing a neck brace, right? And like I just said, according to Jeffree, part of his spine was broken and he was in excruciating pain. However, the next day, he posted a picture of him sitting up in a chair next to his friend, getting relieved from the hospital.
Post surgery, I healed like Wolverine. It was crazy. I didn't need any pins in my back. I can still do the splits.
And straight up, I do not know enough about medical stuff to say if this is an exaggeration or not, okay? I got no clue. If you're like a nurse or something, sound off down below. But the second reason why people are kind of like, about this is because, like I said, their car rolled over 3 times, but the car does not look like it rolled over 3 times. But there you go. Again, I do not know enough about this car to know about how damaged it would be. Personally, I think the third reason is the most suspicious. Because literally, one day after this crash, he had a product launch. Okay, so I do find it kind of strange that every time something crazy happens to him, it's right when he's launching a new product. Anyways though, after Jeffree puts away the gun, he goes on to explain that the reason he moved to Wyoming was because he was insecure and disgusted with himself and the way that he had been flaunting his wealth.
Sometimes they're shocked, like, wait, what do you mean he doesn't have like 5,000 Birkins in Wyoming? And I'm like, I don't want that stuff anymore.
So here he is in his other multi-million-dollar mansion, of course. It's so dumb. Anyways though, he talks about his other business ventures that he's been up to since all of the drama and Wyoming isolation began, which include 10 other palettes, a pet store, and skincare. Basically, he's just on some NPC side quest shit. Because what in the ugly dog toy is that? Oh, also, he talks about putting out a palette called Cremated during the pandemic. Understandably caused controversy. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this, since we as a society just tuned out that part of our lives, but millions of people were getting cremated, alright? So I do think that this was just bad timing, but either way, he's an idiot for putting it out.
So in no way was this created to be offensive ever?
But yeah, he's like, oh, everyone's so mad at me. Ugh. Motherfucker, you put out a cremated palette during a time where tens and thousands of people were getting cremated. Figure it out. Read the room. Anyways though, Shane and Ryland pull up to Jeffree's arcade bar, and this is where he's going to deliver this crazy news that Shane has been hyping up the whole time. And also, he's pouring them a glass of tequila.
Do you and Ryland like tequila? Yeah. Maybe I'll have to try it later.
Why would he even have that in his house if he's never drank before in his life? I don't know, but Shane's like, hey man, what will it take to get you to drink?
Yeah, what is it gonna take for you to get drunk?
Never.
Never.
Never, my pretty.
And I stand by him asking that question because literally repeating that same lie could not be more annoying at this point. I need him in 2024 drinking alcohol in 4K. But Jeffree's like, you guys, it's time for me to quit YouTube. No one's watching anymore. No one's clicking anymore.
When did you want to talk about
quitting YouTube? Oh! No one watches it anymore. No one cares.
That's not true.
It's very true.
No one cares, and everybody just wants to be on TikTok.
The world isn't like that anymore. People don't go to YouTube to see reveals. They just go to TikTok.
And Shane gets so visibly and physically depressed by this news. The rest of the episode feels like the f***ing potato famine or something. Anyway, Shane, please follow his lead because we also don't want to see you anymore. And this brings us to the third and final episode of the Shane/Jeffree series to ever happen. And they still haven't revealed that fucking palette yet. Throughout this episode, Shane just acts like a country bumpkin, like just so... And Jeffree again pulls alcohol out of his fridge. This time it's a beer. Shane asks him again, are you sure you've never drank before? And then he gets offended.
We're not doing this.
Shane. Really?
Two documentaries later, we're not doing this.
Not still? Not still?
My brother in Christ, you literally have alcohol all over your house. House, in a fucking house.
House! Fucking in a house!
And this episode made me just a pinch happy because you could tell Jeffree hates TikTok.
Instagram to Facebook, and now we're at TikTok, and I want to fucking
like, I think he doesn't get 1 ounce of joy from it. He might be getting money. However, he is bitter as hell.
If we want to stay relevant, this is what we're doing outside now. And maybe put the gun in my mouth after this.
But as for the palette, okay, they finally get to the damn palette, and Shane is in his whimsical cowboy costume and reveals that this palette was to be called Doomsday.
Oh my god, I have it wrapped in my fucking pajamas. Here's the Doomsday palette.
Okay, let's see it.
Wow. And this is
So
before
good.
COVID and everything, so I was like,
Yes.
Doomsday. And then I even made the logo, which had the SD, the pig mirrors.
During 2020, kind of another beautiful coincidence, such as cremated, but at least Shane had the good sense to not release it because it featured like a ton of biohazard symbols and stuff like that. But Shane is like a r/I'm 14 and this is deep because he's like, you know what? I'm glad we didn't release that palette because Doomsday is a level of darkness and toxicity that they simply could not handle.
Putting out something called Doomsday is a level of darkness and toxicity that I actually can't handle.
And then he proceeds to include all of this B-roll of like explosions and nuclear fallout as if the palette itself could have shattered the United Nations.
Because the whole idea was going to be end of the world, darkness, doomsday, like, you know, and now it's like that's so not where I am.
There would appear to be immediate karmic justice though, because then he gets attacked by a bee.
It's sad. Oh my god, okay.
So, conclusively, the series had gone on for 4 years. And to give you some perspective on how much people just didn't give a shit about Jeffree anymore, this final episode, okay, the end of Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson, made 4 million views. But then Shane's next video that didn't have anything to do with Jeffree, it was just conspiracy theories, performed the exact same. It didn't matter if he was there or not. But this brings us to Jeffree's current activities. So in 2023, Jeffree's new favorite activity became begging for change on TikTok, like Jason Nash style.
Go! Go!
Which, if you're not aware, there is a crazy amount of digital panhandlers on TikTok asking for money for whatever reasons. Many of these people, I'm sure, have a good reason to want to raise money, but Jeffree Star? How pathetic is it for a man worth 200 million to ask for money via freaking cowboy hats? Jeffree Star on his ice cream so good grind.
Ice cream so good.
But this MF live streams on TikTok 4 to 5 days a week.
And don't stop double tapping. Once you've entered the giveaway, double tap my face, y'all. Look, we're already at 6.7. Holy shit! Taylor!
Stop giving this man money! As Drew Gooden famously once said,
just so one guy can have a third helicopter, he's not gonna let you ride it. He doesn't know you.
And in a bizarre turn of events, since his popularity on the app has been escalating,
Oh my god, we've broken the record for the most taps in one live!
he has somehow managed to reconnect with his old YouTube, air quotes, friends, and unfortunately attempting a comeback on this platform. Ew. And so on November 13th, Jeffree ended up being on the Cancelled podcast with Tana Mojo and Brooke Schofield. Now, if you don't know who Tana Mojo is, she's just yet another controversial YouTuber. And some interesting context here is that a few months prior, she had fallen into good graces with with the internet after outing Cody Ko as a creepy weirdo. Basically, I'm sure you know about this situation, but he slept with her while she was underage. Most people got behind her with it, and it resulted in Cody completely abandoning his platform, which makes it all the more awful and ironic that Jeffree was there sitting on her couch because he's literally everything that she had just stood against. But anyways, so the episode begins with Brooke and Tana kissing Jeffree's ass and praising him for his TikTok success, while simultaneously roasting none other than Jason Nash. And to give you some context for this guy, Jason is a former member of the Vlog Squad who has quite famously fallen from grace. Like, he gets on TikTok live streams every day and he's just standing around and he begs viewers for money. And when I say begging, I mean literally screaming at them in his big ass house.
Get it, 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 get it! 9 roses, guys, go! 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 Motherfucker, guys, come on. 5 out of 9 roses, that's ridiculous. You're all just sitting there asleep.
And so Tana's like, all he does is stand around in his kitchen.
Seeing Jason Nash panhandle was maybe one of the highlights of my year. Hilarious.
It is wild for, as a viewer to see someone that was so far up David's ass just sit on TikTok in their kitchen.
Which is true. But she's definitely making fun of him, right? But then just moments later, Jeffree says this.
I'll make bacon in the morning and make $50,000.
I mean, you're so fucking entertaining.
Yeah. There's money there, yes.
$50,000.
And it's just another case of changing their tune, just morphing into whoever their guest is, absorbing them like it's the thing. It is so annoying. Many of these people, I'm sure.
Let's go, you guys. Everyone double tap a screen. We're in a brand new battle.
Okay, like, I don't even understand how it came down to this. Sometimes he's definitely on there doing a QVC, freaking selling his makeup, but there's also plenty of times where he's just straight up doing nothing.
Good morning, everyone. We're cooking bacon. We're hanging out.
Nothing in the same sense as Jason Nash's.
9 roses, guys, go! Go! Go!
And speaking of all this digital panhandling, okay, Jeffree recently taught Gypsy freaking Rose the basics of earning cash on TikTok Live.
Oh, I didn't even know what these little thingies are.
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming when they're all coming, so it's hard to thank everyone at once, but there's different levels of gifts. There's really big ones, and there's really low tier ones, so it's like a whole...
Which is probably the second weirdest combination of people in this video. Second to Chris Hansen, of course. But this crazy scenario gets even more surreal when Eugenia Cooney enters the chat and donates a lion to her, which is apparently worth $400.
Whoa. I looks good with this hat.
Oh my god. Eugenia! She just sent you one of the biggest gifts on the app. Oh my god, Eugenia. There we go. We have to show Gypsy what some big gifts are.
I'm a Leo, so I love lions.
Are you really?
And pause right there, okay? I do not blame Gypsy for this at all. She had been in jail since 2016. The last thing she saw before the slammer was the Black Beetle challenge. But alas, as with everyone in Jeffree's multiverse, the friendliness he showed towards Gypsy was completely false. Because he would literally talk shit about her in a live stream just a few days later.
All right, Gypsy, don't kill the next one. We'll see you on the next documentary.
Like, what? But speaking of Eugenia Cooney, Jeffree has been hard launching a close friendship with her on TikTok.
Jeffree! Oh my gosh, sorry.
There she is!
Yeah, people were like, show us your boots.
Probably the third most random combination of people.
If you would have told me and Eugenia when we were on MySpace that we would be sipping water together on fucking TikTok, I think we would have both jumped off a fucking bridge.
And if you aren't familiar with Eugenia, she's been on the internet for a full decade and is well known, unfortunately, for struggling with an eating disorder. And this video obviously isn't about her, so I won't dive too deeply into her background, but some interesting context is that there have been rumors for years that her mother might have a conservatorship over her, and possibly reportedly restricting her freedom and enabling her eating disorder, allegedly for financial gain. And there are actually quite a few convincing pieces of evidence to back that theory up. A big one being that Eugenia rarely, if ever, leaves her home. And whenever she does go anywhere, her mom is closely shadowing her, which all might not seem that crazy, but there's actually videos of Eugenia's mother flat out lying and saying that her daughter is healthy and that she eats.
How is your mom okay watching you wilt away? She's not. My mom lives with me. She knows that I'm fine.
I know she eats. She takes good care of herself.
See? Exactly.
Happens to be skinny mini, but she does take
exactly.
Skinny
We're all different.
But she does take good care of herself.
Exactly.
To reel it back in, her and Jeffree began live streaming together several times. Then, shortly after, he invited her to stay with him in Wyoming.
Oh, hi everyone. Eugenia's here.
Hi. They then began making a ton of TikToks together, which was very confusing for most people, and led to speculation that Jeffree might be trying to help her escape her mom.
Because Jeffree's bringing out the best in me, you know?
Absolutely.
He's teaching me to be free.
Or recover from her eating disorder, or maybe even allow her to stay with him permanently.
When we went off live last night, we were giggling, howling, and crying, laughing for like at least a few hours. When she's sleeping, she looks like a little angel, you guys. It's so cute, so endearing. My sweet girl.
While others, including myself, suspect that Jeffree was using Eugenia for views and clout, given the fact that Eugenia is unfortunately very, very ill. And so it's hard not to write off the theory that this might be another sick and twisted way of garnering good public reception, like, oh, look at the angel who flew in and saved her. And I hate to be that negative, but I truly hope that Eugenia can recover away from the clutches of Jeffree. Whether or not Jeffree actually cares about this girl, or anyone for that matter, is really up for interpretation. Like, Jeffree time and time again has zero empathy for anyone, but then is this clip where he's crying over her declining health.
I have too much empathy. It just hurts. It really, really hurts. And I just want her to smile. I don't want her to know that I'm crying. I just want her happy, and that's what I'm gonna do. So there's just so much more about this beautiful angel that you guys don't know.
Not sure how sincere this is, but either way, Eugenia ended up eventually going home. But other than those interactions, the only other TikTok scandal that I'm aware of is that he's been accused of snorting coke on one of his live streams.
What allergies, you guys? I got my It's not bad, huh?
He literally does one giant snort and then goes, allergies, guys.
What allergies, you guys?
Which is perfect for someone who's sober.
I've never done coke, meth, crack. I've never done any hardcore drugs.
Like, goddamn, dude, stoners in high school are able to be more low-key than you. But when he received backlash for this, his explanation was that he had a coke bag sticker on the back of his phone.
So people thought that I was doing drugs yesterday. You guys look, this is a phone case and it's a gag. It's a joke.
You guys all know I love weed. I don't do drugs.
This is not real. It's a sticker.
Now go fuck yourself.
Which is really interesting because nobody accused him of having a bag. It's like he forgot he snorted it off camera.
We didn't even see that sticker. You know that you're not explaining anything.
And the worst part, you know what pisses me off, is that I feel like somehow he thinks this is all cool. Like, no dude, you're 40 years old, stop the madness. But as of today, one of the last videos that Jeffree posted on his YouTube channel was the 15th anniversary re-release of his shitty ass album Beauty Killer, along with a new palette which no one asked for. And while he's talking about how proud he is of this album, album, this motherfucker literally had the audacity to show a B-roll clip of him performing with blood on the dance floor.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
But Jeffree's most recent and embarrassing endeavor outside of his channel was an appearance on Tana Mojo's Cancelled podcast.
What did I do wrong? They just thought I was a shitty person?
I'll never know.
Which aired just a couple of days before the release of episode 3. Now, there is some tea, if you could even call it that, pertaining to James Charles on this podcast. And when the subject of Dramageddon 2 gets brought up, Jeffree literally calls Tati a and the darkest person he's ever met.
For her stupid ass, Tati, you dumb cunt. Let me say one thing for you before you die, you fucking old witch.
Wow. Weirdly enough though, he actually defends Tati in some other regards. Like for instance, when Tana and Brooke bring up that Tati's video was stupid because she did it all for the sake of vitamins, Jeffree chimes in, actually supporting her, saying he was actually super messed up for promoting Sugar Bear hair instead of Halo Beauty. And he also says one of my favorite dumb lines that I've ever heard anyone ever say.
But the gummies was about loyalty.
The gummies was loyalty. Like, who gives a shit? Also, Tana and Brooke do such a horrible job interviewing him or talking to him at all because they do a complete 180 on their opinion as soon as he says this, simply blowing over in the wind like the Three Little Pigs straw house.
It was just like we all...
Yeah.
She's gonna come out with the beauty line. I'm gonna be the...
They have zero integrity. But Jeffree goes on to reiterate just how much he hates James, explaining that during that time, the fame and the money had all gone to James's head, and he felt entitled to sleep with whoever he wanted to.
And he really thought, I have money, you're gonna sleep with me. Very disgusting. Doesn't matter who you were, you want him.
And now, okay, I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times. James Charles is not good. See an Unhinged James Charles deep dive for further details. But Jeffree is not the person to talk. You can't even handle being rejected at all. So much so that you're willing to disregard their consent, allegedly. Anyways though, he very much has that same Shane Dawson energy of like the humble pie the size of the Empire State Building.
Height of James's new fame, new money, going batshit crazy and not knowing how to handle it all, and it turned him into a monster.
But then, okay, and this is this is very interesting. Jeffree does that fun little ism of his where he just completely rewrites history. Truth? Stuff that there's documented evidence of? Nope, didn't happen.
Trisha she did me and Jay wrong and made up a whole drama. She did me really wrong.
Oh.
She made up all these lies, said I fat shamed her and called her all these things. Never happened.
Okay, so he says that James's behavior during the infamous cock and balls dinner was disgusting because he pressured Sam the waiter to sleep with him.
And there was a 19-year-old waiter who he tricked into his room later that night. And the guy said he wanted to leave. And James was like, I paid for this. Yeah, you have to hook up with me. I bought the room.
Which makes no sense because as we've discussed, Sam himself debunked that allegation and they didn't even sleep together. James literally just kissed him very poorly in a hotel room and then he left.
We ended up making out for around an hour, and if I'm being honest, he's the worst kisser I've ever kissed. Way too much tongue.
And if you're not like me and you don't have Jeffree's entire biography imprinted into your mind, you probably wouldn't remember that. So most people watching would likely take that information at face value, which does nothing to actually help the underage victims of James. In fact, if anything, spreading misinformation is making it worse. After all, James being able to just debunk everything except except one thing is what allowed him to get away with it all in the first place. But the cherry on top of this powerful fart of a podcast is when Jeffree says this.
I'm not a bad person. I didn't try to take down James Charles.
I can't, bro. I can't. I literally can't. Anyways, there isn't much more that I can say about this podcast, other than at one point, Jeffree says that he's mad at Shane for leaving YouTube. Like he thinks he's a coward or something.
I am upset that Shane disappeared for over a year. He I don't know, he couldn't handle it mentally. I don't know.
Which, stop right there, okay? Just, I'm not even gonna say anything, okay? But what is honestly the grossest thing is that, you know, you expect bad things from Jeffree Star, okay? All the bad things. But when it comes to Tana and Brooke, okay, very questionable, morally gray individuals, all right? I would never suspect that they would have a on their podcast and gas him up the entire time.
Having you as a guest, this is so iconic.
I really love this one.
Oh, I love this so much.
That is a new low. Seriously, beyond low. But the fuck of it all, though, is that they weren't even the only people who welcomed Jeffree onto their podcast, okay? Because in a shocking turn of events, on November 1st, Jeffree would upload a TikTok with the very last person whom you would suspect. Fucking Trisha Paytas.
You want to go to Taco Bell? I can't go to Taco Bell. I'm on an all-carb diet. God, Karen, you are so stupid.
And apparently, as of right now, like as I am recording this video, it has been confirmed that she invited him onto the Just Trish podcast. Why the hell she would do that considering their past is just the most confusing thing in the world to me. Like, not only did he bully her to the furthest extent, he also allowed his friend to stalk her and threaten physical violence. Bro, okay, you know what? Scratch Jeffree. We hate him. We hate him in this house. You're in trouble. To the fact that she has done no research on what has happened with Jeffree since the last time they interacted. Because having an alleged rapist, groomer, and present day racist person onto your show is just beyond a bad look, okay, for lack of better words. It's an understatement, especially since she condemned people like Cody Ko and Colleen Ballinger. It's insanely hypocritical. Tana too. And it's not that Trisha has never been a bad person before or been hypocritical before, but again, like with Tana, this feels like a new low, especially since she just got into the public's semi-good graces. But anyways, although it was confirmed that they recorded, it's now highly speculated that that episode will never air because it's been like a full month and she's gone radio silent on it. Why? We don't know yet. Maybe it has something to do with her realizing she's platforming her, or maybe it has nothing to do with it. I don't know. I guess only time will tell. But one thing that is sure to me is that none of this was a coincidence. Everything that we've talked about through the entirety of this series can all be traced back to one word: deflection. And this is happening because Jeffree is either A, lying to himself, B, has no conscience, or C, wakes up every day horrified with the monster that's in his reflection. Which one of those is actually the truth, I don't think we'll ever know. But either way, there are various forms of it that coincide with each other more than I initially thought. For example, let's talk about lying about alcohol. All the way back in J-Star Part 1, Kat Von D called him out for stealing a logo from her friend BJ, not paying him, and then ultimately ghosting him. And in response to this, he made a video not just calling her a liar, but also throwing some incredibly low blows, like bringing up her past substance abuse.
She is a previous hardcore drug user.
And he uses that part of her history to put himself on a pedestal, saying that he doesn't even drink. He's never even taken a sip of alcohol.
As I've mentioned in other videos, I've never even drank alcohol before.
So why listen to her? She's jealous, she's bitter, and how dare she accuse me of acting crazy? I'm not the one with that dark past. I only smoke weed.
I smoke weed every day. I have a medical card. It's legal. I love marijuana. I've never done coke, meth,
crack. I've never done any hardcore drugs.
And how anyone felt that those were valid things to bring up is a testament to just how good he is at talking. But this alcohol lie extends its branches into the Shane X Jeffree series, which, as you know, was a big part of what humanized him despite his past on the internet. So of course he's gonna bring it up to Shane.
Not into drugs, not into alcohol. I've never tried a beer, I've never tried alcohol before.
What?
Yeah.
Of course he wants to subvert expectations. And the lie also trickles down into way more serious subjects, like his involvement with blood on the dance floor. Because of course Jeffree couldn't have known what was going on. He couldn't have seen anything. He wasn't a partier, which means he was never really even around Dahvie.
I don't drink. I am not a partier. So they were very into partying, drinking, alcohol, and my crew was not into that.
Yet another subgenre of this is racism. The way he somehow deflected responsibility onto everyone around him but himself, including the people he was racist to, is truly despicable. For example, in 2017, when Jackie Aina made her anti-haul video where she said she wouldn't be buying Jeffree's makeup due to his racist past, instead of him respecting that decision, he started barking at her on Twitter about how she hasn't paid her taxes and oh, she's using his name for views. Anything to steal focus from the original thing that Jackie said. Then, in 2018, when Gabriel Zamora famously called him out for being racist, which included claims of literally hearing him say the N-word hard R, and instead of acknowledging this allegation in any meaningful way, Jeffree encouraged his fans to dig into Gabriel, Manny MUA, and Laura Lee's and Nikita Dragun's past. Jeffree even partook in the dogpiling, posting racist tweets written by Manny's brother, and then quickly deleting them as soon as he knew people had already taken screenshots. And then, in the middle of Gabriel, Manny MUA, and Laura Lee's apology videos, he posted revealing the last of my dark secrets, which again would divert attention away from him potentially saying the N-word. Like, in my mind, knowing what I know about Jeffree now, it is incredibly odd that on the same day of Laura Lee's infamous apology video, he shared something deeply personal that would cause people to empathize with him. With all this context in mind, it's hard for me to believe that this was actually him being vulnerable. It was just the perfect storm, because at the time, he was using Shane Dawson, a huge, popular creator that also has a racist past, to redeem himself. He just seems so cool, so nice, so funny, so empathetic in this series. How could anyone take Gabriel's claims seriously when they had already made up their mind about him?
I don't do it anymore. And you don't do it anymore. And you've apologized probably a million times.
Shane said he was sorry. Case closed. And the exact same pattern repeated just a few days later when his former hairdresser, David, leaked alleged text between him and Jeffree where he calls Jackie Aina a gorilla. And again, as previously alleged, using the N-word hard ER. And even though every single bit of context and the timeline of those texts added up, Jeffree quickly said that they were fake and spun the blame onto David himself and Laura Lee, accusing her, the actual racist, to have orchestrated this whole thing to distract from their fake apologies. He's literally saying they're doing what he is doing. Like, am I crazy? And then years later, when Tab David spoke up about the Vegas trip, he claimed that Jeffree literally hired a racist cop and flew him from Florida to LA just for him to be able to say the N-word. And instead of saying, no, my bodyguard's not racist, what does he do? He calls Tab jealous and bitter and lonely.
Craziest, manipulative, most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I know you're upset. Your boyfriend left you. He stopped loving you. Your roommate moved out. You attacked Fenty. They didn't respond. And now people are coming for you for supporting me. So you trying to flip the script and make up a bunch of lies and make me the devil is so
boring.
And then there's the anti-Semitism. Tab David also claimed that he heard Jeffree say the K word in 2020. And oh boy, as we know, he has a long career of being an anti-Semite, running all the way back to his late teens, ranting on LiveJournal about why it's okay to use a swastika, creating lipstick Nazi, and wearing Boy London clothing, which also circles back to Kat Von D. Because wait, why were these two friends for 10 years? Well, they did have some things in common, like trying to profit off of Nazi imagery and calling somebody a Jew in a derogatory way. And oh yeah, Kat Von D had a Nazi boyfriend. We have every reason to believe that what Tab is saying is true, especially when everything he said about Trisha ended up being 100% accurate. And that brings me to his pattern of bullying. And oh man, Jeffree will bully anyone. But I want to put focus on his particularly horrifying treatment of minors. And there are small incidents that we've discussed. For example, Sierra MUA about the hair in her skin frost, and Rocky Roadkill about his broken skin frost. But those in the grand scheme of things don't really mean much. However, these situations escalated so quickly, like the time he yelled and cursed at James Charles's little brother. Way more importantly though, I want to bring up Damian Leonhardt and Chris Avery Bennett. And while Jeffree didn't commit any crimes against Damian, as he loves to point out, he was complicit in the worst way possible, literally mocking them with Dahvie on Twitter when Damian was, and I'll say it again, 11. But it's so funny, right? It's so funny that Dahvie, this grown-ass man, has a relationship with an 11-year-old. Oh yeah, ha 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 ha, you done goofed, right? But a cruel tweet like this, coupled with the fact that Damian claims Jeffree knew about the relationship, that he saw Dahvie kiss them.
Both he and Jay knew the relationship between you and Dahvie and actually witnessed him kissing you.
Yeah, they witnessed many girls kissing him. I wasn't the only one. Dahvie was very affectionate with a lot of his fans, and he was f***ing a lot of them. Dahvie took it quite a bit far with quite a few very young fans, and Jeffree Star and Jay witnessed it.
Means that he, at 24 years old, knew that this creep was molesting Damian, and not only ignored it, but joined in on the bullying that led Damian Leonhardt to go to a mental institution on their 12th birthday. And then, come to find out from the Business Insider article, Jeffree had not only sent a nude to Chris Avery Bennett, but sent hordes of his fans to bully her into an institution as well at the age of 15. Like, it truly all adds up. Now, if we take a look at this other pattern of him threatening to ruin people's lives and their careers, you can fully understand why a lot of people Jeffree hurt in various ways wouldn't want to come forward about him. For example, let's look at Nikki Tutorials. Sure, maybe I was just reading into it with that situation, but Jeffree literally getting on Snapchat and posting a story saying the reason why Nikki won't explain why they're not friends anymore is because he has dirt on everyone and they know to keep their mouths shut.
And a lot of you are like, okay, how come she's never said anything about your friendship? Because I have dirt on everyone, and they know to keep their mouths shut.
Only to find out he then deleted that very ominous story, and what do you know, soon enough, Nikki Tutorials was posting a video coming out as trans and saying that it was happening against her own will.
Share something with you that I've always wanted to share with you one day, but under my own circumstances, and it looks like that chance has been taken away from me. I am transgender.
But a way more obvious example of this is James Charles, of course. And the question for the culture is, did Jeffree orchestrate by sister as a way of simply taking James out.
I did not make my video because of vitamins. I made it as a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star.
Honestly, I think so. If you recall, they met when Jeffree was like 30 and James was 16. And of course, at that age, he was just a normal ass kid. But somehow, some way, Jeffree had already found a way to not like him.
So I remember me and Jeffree started arguing on Twitter. You had talked about how I introduced myself to you at that night at the Dawson event, calling myself the next big thing in the beauty industry. And I was just like, wait a second. I may be a little bit egotistical, but I would never, ever.
Right.
And whether or not his claims about James molesting someone in his sleep were true or not, he had still sprinkled in a ton of lies there. Maybe he leapt at the chance to hammer it all in. Maybe he thought one allegation alone wouldn't be enough to end his career. I mean, it sure as hell didn't end Jeffree's. Jeffree was willing to destroy James Charles when it benefited him, and then he was willing to kiss his ass once more when it benefited him. And similarly with Dahvie Vanity, he befriended him when he believed that it would benefit him, but then took his chance to bring him down after he allegedly heard Dahvie talking shit about him.
Now, the night before Jeffree posted that tweet, I went on stage and I said some stupid shit about Jeffree. He was really upset about that. Of course, everyone knows when you piss off Jeffree Star, he gets pretty vile. He gets pretty angry and he'll tweet some fucked up shit and he'll try to get his fan base rallied up and to go and attack people.
Meaning that he was willing to overlook Dahvie being a pedophile, but not his unwavering loyalty. Once Dahvie made nice with him, however, whichever way that might have been, he went right back to being complicit and protecting him. But why, you ask? Well, consider what that Warped Tour manager had to say about him. He claimed that he was grabbing people that looked exceptionally young inappropriately, and with his alleged track record of having date drugs and threatening people? Could it be that they kept secrets for one another? If so, Dahvie's crimes were likely even crazier, and therefore, despite them both doing bad things, Jeffree would always have the upper hand. That's just my speculation though. You can make what you will of it. In conclusion of this all, it is the idea of Jeffree Star that everyone liked. The idea that you want to believe. The person that's inspiring, came from nothing but rose above it all. Someone that's a beacon of creativity and self-expression. But it's just that. It's an idea. It's a facade. Because the real Jeffree lies, manipulates, and hurts people. The real Jeffree uses people and rewrites history as if it never happened. He's a bully that is so egotistical, manipulative, and predatory in nature that I think even if he watched this video, he would still find some kind of crazy insults and excuses to weasel himself out of it when I've laid everything out. Seriously, this video is like 3 hours. Jeffree hates himself and he hates the world and he's never ever gonna change. So my question is, why is this happening again? Why is he on YouTube? Why is he starting new businesses? Why does he make $50,000 a day on TikTok, okay? But no matter what, I do promise this to you. Someday, every single person will stop believing in that facade. You will have no one left, no matter how much clout or how much money you have. You hurt people, Jeffree. You hurt them. Why don't you care?
I just want everyone to like have love, stop being so hateful against each other. The world would be a lot better place.
So, I'm sorry if the end of this video / series is kind of sad and disappointing, but just know I literally feel that way too. Because Jeffree's career has been undeniably entertaining to me, and I'm sure to you as well. We've talked about so many things that are just so ridiculous that they're just kind of laughable, but obviously being charismatic or being entertaining doesn't make you a good person, and I just truly wish that none of these awful things had ever happened to his victims, or at the very least they had gotten some resolution and some justice. But I truly hope that I painted a full picture of how deceitful he is and just how far his lies go, to the point where no one can watch this and seriously, in good faith and a good heart, believe that those victims are lying. I mean, if that doesn't do it, nothing will. We've officially spent about 8 hours talking about Jeffree, and now it's time to never utter his name ever again. And to sum it all up, after everything we've been through, I want to give you a gift. The gift of sweet, beautiful irony.
I've never scrolled on any app and left someone a negative comment.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being with me for this long, terrible journey. And before I go, I must thank my lovely, lovely supportive patrons. Starting with the base nerd tier, we have Levi Rogers, Ainsley, Arceli Laura, Ava W, Baby Linny, Bioket, KCH, Christine, Dom Sod, Emmy Say, Grandin, Grand Peepus, Kat K, Lauren, Mallory, Manny Morelia, Marie Feely, Polar Bear, Popsmats, Rachel Stanley, Reno Rabbit, Ronan, Ruby Femme, Sienna Akira, Shay, Sophia, Stacy, Steph P, Supernova, Tacky, WYWY, Zayla Babela, and then here comes the cool nerd tier. Okay, we have Brooke, Drew, Emily, Haley P, Joaquin Attore, Penny Kinning, Kirby, Marley, May, Rat, Roy Salgado, Twihard 336, and Zugi E. Thank you guys so much. And before I go, I do have one more important message for you all. I quickly want to mention a fundraiser and upcoming live show called Creators for Peace that me and my good friend Hassan have been working on to support Palestinians in Gaza. Our last fundraiser and live stream, we had so many amazing creators help earn $1.5 million for those in need. And so on January 31st, me and so many other creators that you know and love, such as the Try Guys, Chad, Jarvis Johnson, there's gonna be so many amazing people there. And this time around, we're partnering with Operation Olive Branch to continue supporting Palestinians and providing essential items and medical care for those in need. So if you want to watch a fun little show with your favorite creators and support Palestinians, consider buying tickets if you're able to. It's gonna be a great time. Anyways, once again, thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Merry Christmas.